Links to previous episodes are given in the video description, so don't forget to like, subscribe and share the video. The Queen Who Refused. Part 2. God has given you one face and you created yourself another. William Shakespeare. So you're engaged. His hand was in his pocket, his eyes never left hers. She already told them, just him and Carla, as Cam already knew about her engagement. They continue to chat more, catching up for the last 2 years' life update. Suddenly Carla has to use the restroom while Cameron was upstairs tugging Clyde into bed. Cameron was right when he says the Victor she knew before no longer there. He was all changed, he looked tired and restless. On top of that, he seems to be cold, as if the darkness has won him over completely. Her wolf starts to whimper at his side, scolding her that their mate is hurt. She ignores her wolf while holding his gaze yet, and you, he rubs the back of his head, guess we both are. She couldn't tell whether he was nervous or not. Yet I guess we are, she repeated his words. Is he treating you well? Isabel furrowed her brow. Much better than someone I know of, she defensively retorted. I was just asking. He raised up his hand in defense. Whatever, I guess everything has changed except for your jerk-like attitude, she mumbles as she walked past him. Victor held her hand back, igniting the sparks between them. Isabel felt her breath hitch. She seriously want to turn around, forget everything and pounce on him. She saw his eyes constantly changing, as if his wolf was about to come out. Victor. Carla came from the bathroom and Isabel wonders what took her so long. Victor immediately let go of her hand and both of them trying to calm down. Hey, I'm sorry, but can we go home now? She held on to his elbow. What's wrong? He pulls her close, kissing her on the lips as if Isabel wasn't even there. Something came up at home. Alan needs me to be home now. Can't it wait? She giggled in his arms. Nope, but we'll have ours during the ride back. This made Isabel cough out loudly, sounded more like a growl. We're sorry for our behavior, but can you please let Cameron know that we're leaving? I'm really sorry, but it's urgent at home. It's all right, I'll let him know then. She half smile, hiding a little bit of rage that starts to boil within her from what she just witnessed. She bid their guest goodbye before going upstairs to check on Cameron and Clyde, who already fell asleep on the bed. She pulled up a blanket to cover them both, then turn off the lights. Isabel changed into her pajamas before jumping on her bed. She felt like she's been watched again, the same feeling she got the night when she was fired from her first job. As much as she wanted to confirm her anxiety, but her eyes were too hard to be open again, drifting her off to sleep. The loud ringtone of her phone awakened her. Lazily she grabs it from the nightstand and answers it. Hello, she yawned. Isabel. The annoying voice made her want to throw her phone. How could she forget her voice? The great aunt of Kiev, or should she say the evil aunt-in-law. I want you to meet me at Charlie's Pastry. She rushed her words without giving any chance to Isabel to speak or see if she was available or not. Don't wear heels, as we have a lot to do today, and don't forget to be here on time. I'll be waiting, she ended in a high note as if she's singing a song. Isabel threw her phone across when Evelyn cut off the line. How rude. She quickly took a shower and changed, then head down to find Cameron, Judy, and Clyde. She skip over kissing Clyde on the forehead. Morning, she beams. Morning. Both Cameron and Judy replies to her. She borrowed Cameron's car keys and explained where she was going, and Cameron's face was enough to know that he was still disappointed with her decisions. Then she head out to meet the evil aunt-in-law, who was probably dissing her at the pastry. Finally you arrived. It almost took you forever. Well, I'm here now. Evelyn rolled her eyes before going around inside the pastry, pointing from here to there as if she owns it. Isabel saw the looks on the employees' faces eyeing her skeptically, and she tries to avoid it, following Evelyn, who tastes the cake sample and had that gross look on her face. Then she snapped her finger to another one. The whole week with her was tortuous, and she only see little of Kiev around. It's like she was going to marry his auntie instead of him. The attitude his auntie has was nerve-wracking, and Isabel tries to be patient even though Hani her wolf almost on the brink of breaking her bones. When everything was settled and organized, she was finally going to get a good sleep on her bed. Yet when she thought on Evelyn telling her that the invitation went out today, she groaned with frustration even more. Then suddenly she remembered she has to talk to Victor before the invitation got there. She abruptly jumped up from her bed, biting on her nails, contemplating whether to call him or not. When she was sure, she ran to ask Cameron for his number before dialing it down. He answered after one ringtone. Alpha Victor speaking. His voice never fails to clench her insides and send shivers to her body. Victor, can we talk please? Let bygone be bygone and let's move on for good. Just one more final goodbye with you. She stood outside his pack door nervously, after Cameron drops her off. She couldn't even remember the last time she was here, but that was only the one and only time she ever been here. Everything seems to remain unchanged, except for color of the pack house, which is now full on white with royal blue to go with the painting. She knocks on the door as if he was expecting her. He opens up the door smiling at her. Come in. He opens the door wide and let her inside. She was getting more nervous now as she take a look around the house. Don't be nervous, there's no one here, just the two of us. Cora and Jem are away on a meeting. She half smiled even though the thought of them alone makes her shiver. So it's just you and me. He walked before her, heading to the office. Yes, none of the pack members live here, just Jem, Cora, and some other 3 guys. Our Delta just moved out month ago with his mate. Now come on, follow me. She bit her bottom lip, then trails behind him. They went into his office, the same one where she left him behind without compromising with him or giving him a chance. It may seem to others that she was a cold-hearted if they ever find out, yet she was just another wounded soul who was consumed with too much hurt and nightmares. Now she's better than ever, and here she is in the same office to look things past their differences and accept their fate as it is. So how's the preparation going? She asks him as she settled down on a chair before him. He looked hesitant for a moment. Our wedding is cancelled, he says. She didn't know how to react to that, so instead she said the only thing she knew to say, I'm sorry. No need to, besides we fail from the start, is just that we pretend for our pack's sake, he explains. What did Alan says? She asks again. Nothing, he's just glad that we both confessed to him the truth before it got serious. Hope everything is all right then, he sighed, laying his head back to his chair. Isabel was about to say something when Victor leans forward, grabbing something from his drawer. Let's put my life aside and I want to congratulate you on your wedding. He sincerely smiled at her and Isabel felt like she wanted to cry right there. This came in today. He waved the invitation in front of her. Victor the first wanted to. He didn't let her finish. Isabel, it's okay, I don't want you to explain yourself. Trust me, I understand. Her wolf howl for the first time since she got back here. She was whimpering with sadness. The moon goddess may have pair us up, but that doesn't mean you have to tie yourself to me because it's what expect of you. The bond is not an obligation if your heart isn't in it. Isabel, who couldn't handle it, started to tear up. His words has really touched her and she wishes he know how she truly felt, but there was no going back for them now. I'm sorry, Victor. I wish things would have been different for us. She took a deep breath. I am really sorry, Victor, for walking away and also for not granting your sister Zoe's wishes. He wanted to ask more, but he didn't want to interrupt her. I didn't know she was your sister until she said she is, and I didn't know that Cora was your sister too. Zoe came for me to come back to you, but I declined it. Therefore, I sincerely apologize for my behavior. I just hope she forgives me one day and for you to let me go happily. She sighed heavily, trying not to let more tears down. I am deeply sorry, Victor, and just so you know, I forgive you. He looked at her as if he wanted to cry. Thank you. He tries to be brave, and you didn't need my forgiveness as you have done nothing wrong. So don't worry about it or me not letting you go. I only hope he treats you better than how your own soulmate treated you. He wiped off his fallen tears. You were more than good, never doubt that Victor. She stood up, going around his desk, hugging him as her tears fell from her eyes. Closing them, she held him tight, wishing that this moment could last forever, this moment where it's just the two of them. She pulls away. I hope you all the happiness, Victor. He smiled at her. Thank you, and as our final departure, let me walk you out. She couldn't agree more with him. Nodding her head, yes. Victor entwined their hands together. This is our final goodbye, she thought as he opens up the door. There is so much to say, but I just couldn't. I am too exhausted and too numb to give you reasons. Victor was walking Isabel by the door when Cora, who has been listening and hearing the shocking piece of information, confront them both. The boys, Kyle and Jem, just stood by watching them. Now I know, you're the reason why he's been like that. Isabel's heart started to beat faster. Cora looked furious at her, not even giving Isabel any time to respond. You really did break my brother, didn't you? When my sister begged you, why didn't you come for him? Isabel became stiff in her place. Why exactly are you doing here, huh, Isabel? I mean, why did you have to come back here? She sneers at her. Are you here to shove it in his face, that you're going to be happily married? To watch him slowly dies while you smile with glee, she shouted at Isabel. No, she answers. No, then why is your wedding taking place here, knowing really well my brother could get hurt? She continues to shout at her. Come on, Isabel, enlighten us. She threw her hands up, laughing shortly, scoffing at her. Isabel didn't speak. She was too overwhelming by it. She felt someone held her hand with the sparks. She knew it was him. Cora snarled at that. You should at least be kind enough and accepted his rejection. Cora, it's complicated. She bluffs at her. Complicated? Are you kidding me? Then why didn't you accept his rejection? Or even accept him back when he said he was sorry like you said in there? Because I just can't help the idea of being compared to her. All eyes were set on her. Victor stood with shock. Isabel never explains anything to him. He thought his rejection was the only thing she despite him over, but now it was more than just his rejection. There, she finally said what really was being holding her back. Cora still didn't back out from him. She pushes her again. Maybe it was true, and it's sad because it's so true that our first Luna Alexis was way better than you. Her world shattered at her words. Isabel didn't stop either, even though her tears slowly dropped from her eyes. It's hurt to be rejected and come as his last choice. She felt his hand slips away from her, his face casting down with shame. She didn't want him to keep distance from her. She needed him now, yet Victor took several steps away from her and she was all on her own. All my life I've always been compared, and I thought just for once my mate would be mine, even though I knew there's a chance he might reject me, but I still hope for it. How wrong is that? She started to sob uncontrollably. Your brother broke me completely when he rejected me after comparing me with his first mate. I was 15, almost in the brink of death because of my own pack. She beats on her heart. And how can I compete with the dead? Hey, how can I compete with everyone else when all I've ever known was no better than everyone out there? I'll always be known as the other mate, the second one, but not his first. The weak one, the one who was bullied and assaulted by others. Yes, he deeply hurt me beyond his rejection. She could now see pity and sympathy. I could never take her place or be the perfect mate, and you were still right about that. She runs and pushes past them, getting to the door, but you walk away like you couldn't care. That because I do, but it was too much. She opens the door wide and run away from the pack house. Her body was not the only pain she felt, her heart was unbearable to her. It was like someone stabs her there, currently torturing her whole body, then grip her heart and stabs it into thousands time. Isabel, she felt sparks ignite through her when he held back her hand, turning her around, then his hands cupping her face. You're not her, she sobs. I never meant what I say. She still sobs in his hands. You're my first Isabel and everything. She was nothing like you. Nobody was ever good enough, not like you. You were too good for me at the time. Just so you know, she never owns my heart like you did, and I never kiss her the way I kiss with you. She stops him when her lips find his, taking him off guard. He responded to her, his hands tangling through her head holding her, he could still taste her salty tears with their kiss. Pulling away she caressed his cheek. I'm sorry but we can't. She wanted to die when she said those words. Cameron was right, she made a mistake by marrying someone else. Isabel, she sobs, not even wanting to accept his rejection because deep down inside her she has feelings for him. But Cora was right. Maynard, accept your rejection, and she runs off crying, leaving him behind. I beg you to please let me go. I made a mistake and I'm sorry. It has been days since she locks herself inside her room. All wedding preparation were on hold. It was 2 more weeks left before her wedding day, or perhaps her doomsday. She doesn't know what to do anymore and she wanted to pull out, but she knew Kiev will deeply get hurt by it. She buries her head deep between her bended knees. A knock was heard on her door. Isabel, please open this up. She heard Cameron. I won't leave here if you don't open this up. She walks towards the door, opening up the door. Once she saw him she started to weep. You were right, Cam. He hugs her. Hey, just calm down. I'm here for you, okay? He made her sit on the bed as he sat beside her. He waited for her to open up to him. When she was finally over with her tears she began to tell him everything, including her uncertain feelings. When she's done she buries her head with her hands. I don't know what to do anymore, Cameron. I don't want to hurt him. You know he loves me. Shhhh. It's okay now, look at me and you listen well, Isabel. He turns her to face him. All decisions are too risky. It's either you hurt him or your mate and you have to choose what makes you happy. We are not talking about their happiness, this is for yours too. She wipes off her tears. So don't take a path that it will kills you. She hugs him again. Sometimes we have to stop thinking logically and listen to what your heart says, your conscience, your body tells you. So remember, this is for you too, not them alone. He kisses her forehead. Come now, you need to eat. He stood up. Cam, I want to go somewhere after you eat, Isabel, and she did what he asks her before dropping her off to his place. This is it, she mumbles under her breath. She knocks up the door and he opens it up. Hey, can we talk? She told him nervously. Yeah. He leads her inside, his hand on her waist, and wanted to cry at that. It was too hard for her to do this. After settling down he make her tea before sitting beside which she moves to give them space, and she started to cry. Hey, what happened? Kiev, she tries while crying. I want to cancel the wedding. He dropped his tea and stood straight up. I'm sorry but I want to rethink again. She felt something stings on her cheek. Kiev has slaps her before she could finish. All the memories of her father beating her, calling her worthless came back to her. The bully, assaults, abuse, and all her scars were open once again. It's been so long since someone lay a hand on her. It may be just a slap, but it triggers memories of her unwanted past. The past that she wishes so badly to forget and never to go back there. He didn't listen or want her to explain her side. She held on to her now red cheek. You will not do such thing, and moved towards her, slapping her hard on the cheek again. She fell on the floor, another memory trigger of her mother spitting at her that she'll never be good enough no matter how hard she tries. He's not her sister. How dare you? He moves to her, which she tries to crawl out, but he held out her leg. He tries to force her to kiss him. Another memory of her high school janitor trigger, the one who tries to molest and rape her. She begs him, please Kiev. He didn't listen to her plead. He began to rip up her top, making her cry even more. She called for her wolf, but she refused to help her since they haven't been in good terms since Isabel accepted Kiev as her mate. Kiev, please stop. He ignores her. She kicks his jewels, making him groan in pain. She took it as an advantage to escape before she could reach the door. His hand gripped her hair, pulling her backwards, sending her memories of multiple times when they bully her and almost rape incident. Help, she scream. Kiev slaps her and she fell down. He make his moves to her again. You cannot escape, sweet Isabel. I'll kill you before that. He crouched down, holding her hands above her head. He'll never wants you for a pathetic mate after I do this to you, and he trail kisses down to her jaw, making her cry out even louder. Kiev, please don't. Help, she screams. He pulled back by taking off his shirt. Isabel crawled towards the door. He reaches for her again, his hand trying to rip off her jean. She kicks him with all her might, sending him further back. The door was busted down. Cora with Kyle stomps inside seeing her. She throws Kyle's jacket around her while Kyle moves on to Kiev with his fist colliding with Kiev's jaw, knocking him down while Kyle never stops. Kyle, please stop, she begged him. It's not his fault, please Kyle. He stopped, then turning back and carry her out of there. Thank you. She took the mug of coffee from Cora. After Kiev trying to rape her, Kyle took her to his place instead as she didn't want Cam, Victor, or anyone else to know. The room was filled with silence until Cora spoke. How did you guys know? She asks Kyle. Sigh, we dropped by to Kiev for some of our pack's business. You're lucky we arrive on time, and it happens to be a coincidence, and you should thank the moon goddess for the timing. She sat there in silence, not saying anything else. Is he worth your time? Is that the type of guy you want to marry and spend your life with better than your mate? Kyle folded his arms by the window. Cora, he tried to warn, but she keeps on going. Why can't you give Victor a chance? It's too late now, Cora. One day you'll understand me, was all she said. Cora sat beside her hugging her. I'm sorry, and she sobs out loud. I'm sorry, Isabel, she repeated while comforting her. Isabel wants to withdraw, but her wolf Honey's behavior set her off. She heard her apologizing for her behavior, but she completely ignored her off. The more she tries to push through their links, the more her mind set on her final decision. Just one more gaze, one more time to scent you, to touch you, and I promise I'll let you go completely. You know you're making things complicated for the bride and the groom-to-be, Jem says from behind him. He straightened his Armani suit collar, then looked back at him. No, I'm not, and I won't be in their way. Jem furrowed his eyebrow. What's that supposed to mean? I just want to see her for the last time. I'm letting her go for real this time. He put on a brave smile, patting Jem on the shoulder, and Jem frowned before walking past him. Come on, the ceremony starts soon, he called down from the stairs. It would be a lie if Victor didn't hope for this day to come. He was hoping the kiss they share together would change her mind, even though she has accepted his rejection from years ago. He was praying for the moon goddess to make Isabel change her mind. Unfortunately, some things are not meant to be, even if she has bonded them together. Deep down inside he knew the moon goddess has punished him for his own mistakes. He took one last look at himself, then rushed to caught up on Jem, who was about to get in the car. He whacked him on the back of his head when he forced his way in the passenger seat before Jem lock if. It has always been that way if they were invited to a friend's party back then and some other previous occasions. His beta can be surely childish so many times. Poor his mate Victor thought sometimes, but then the girl made for him would be so lucky to have his beta as her soul mate. What was that for? Don't bro, you were going to prank me, Jem laughed. No, I wasn't, beside I can't do that to my wounded alpha. Ouch, he faked to be hurt, making Jem chuckles at him. When they both arrived, people from his pack were already seated waiting for the bride to walk in. Him and Jem took the chairs at the back, right around the far corner of the church. He didn't want anyone to know that he was there, so he already masks his scent. He looked on and saw the groom straightening his suit before he stood up straight, smiling towards the crowd. Jealousy wasn't building up in him, but just a feeling of loss on how lucky he is to have someone wonderful as Isabel. His one mistake was a gain for another werewolf man, and it was heavily his fault all alone, not anyone. He tries not to dwell in it, or his wolf might ruin everything for her today. The music starts. Everybody stood up, turning around to see the bride walking down the aisle. He watches as Kiev's smile widens. Victor closes his eyes as his body was still facing the front. Everyone's eyes were on the bride, that no one noticed their alpha's appearance. Cameron was giving her away today. Once they made it to the altar, he let go of her hand and handed it over to Kiev. The priest began the ceremony, his eyes fixed on the bride with everything mute and blank to him, as he was still painting her in his mind before he locked her together with their memories deep down in the bewilderment of his heart, imagining that it was him there instead of Kiev. He felt something nudging him on the shoulder. He turned beside to Jem, who leans to his ear. The priest is saying whether anyone wants to object. Are you sure you don't? Victor smiled at his friend, nodding his head no, then continues to stare ahead. When the groom says his I do, Victor knew he has to go. He thought he could take it, but how wrong was he? He held back his tears, putting on his brave smile and face, saying in his head, I'm happy for you, and I pray to the moon goddess and the man above that humans believe in that in the next life. Let's never meet again. I love you in this life as I won't have another soul for the next life. Goodbye, my beautiful mate. All of our reasoning ends in surrender to feeling. Blaise Pascal, you know you're very lucky your mate has gone beyond to show you that he regrets everything. That he is and has changed for you. Hardly anyone does that. I know rejection hurts, but no, in the end your choice today won't make you live with regret. I know, she reassured Cameron, who stood beside Carla before breathing and taking the bouquet from her, and smile. She should have cancelled the wedding, but it was too late to turn back now. She hates her wolf for not helping her when she needed her. So this was her punishment, and even hers. Cora and Kyle has understood her, and they back away from involving in her choice. Kiev has already apologized for what he did that day, blaming it on his wolf side, even though she hasn't fully forgiven him. She praised the moon goddess that today was a right choice to made. Yet the moment she walked down the aisle, her wolf whimpered, and she knew then that he was here. When she made it to the altar, her eyes scanned the church and found him sitting at the far end corner with nobody else noticing him. The ceremony starts. The priest asks if anyone wants to object. She was waiting for him to intervene, but he never does. Disappointed fills her, and she couldn't focus on her vows. The priest repeated his words, and she looked up to find everyone looking at her, and he was no longer there. I don't. There was gasp and murmured from the crowd. I'm sorry, but I love him so much. Kiev gripped her hand, but she pushed his hand away. Sorry, I still love my mate. This is a mistake. I love Victor. Pack members were speechless at this. So the rumor 2 years ago was true, she heard whispers. Evelyn screams, reaching for Isabel, who was now apologizing the crowd for the inconvenience, but Carla quickly held Evelyn back. Kiev reached for her wrist, but she slaps it away, only for his hand to come contact with her cheek, calling her a BH. The furious look in Cameron's couldn't control it, that he growled at him, running towards Kiev to rip his throat, but he was held back by Kyle. She turns and slaps him in return twice with both palms, making everyone stops. She then gathered up her dress, couldn't care of anyone, and run out looking for him. Her tears slipped from her eyes. She started to sob, calling out his name, but he already left in a car. She hailed a taxi, getting in, urging the driver to drive faster and follow the car. She was sobbing non-stop with her hands on her face, her lips muttering his name. Please don't lose him, she begged the driver while still sobbing, and he drove really fast when he saw the bride in tears. The car suddenly stopped. She looked around and find that he's back at the pack house. She quickly left her name to the driver to pick up his payment late while struggling with her dress to get out. The rain already pouring down, suddenly making her all wet. She runs in the house following his scent. She passed every rooms and went down the hallway, which seems like a basement. She quickened her steps. Finally she reaches a room. Opening it, the sight in front of her was heart-wrecking. Him on his knees in front of a frame that has a painting of herself smiling, the one when she was 15 playing with her origami. She saw him lifted his hand with a bottle of alcohol, already in his hand. Her voice was croak. She called out his name, Victor. He seems to fail to notice. I love you, as long as you smile I'll be happy, he said while crying. Staggering, he stood up, lifting the bottle to his mouth. I'll just drink myself back to death. I love you, he cried. Without hesitation she runs and hugs him from the back, whispering through her tears, I love you too, finally admitting her feelings to him. He turns around, his eyes blinking and searching if she was real, Tears still dropped from his eyes. Is this real? His hands cupping her cheek as her head nodded yes. She spoke again. I always love you. With that her lips crashes on his, savoring him. He responded with all his passion like they don't have a tomorrow. Not holding back anymore, she disarray her clothes, leaving on her lingerie along with his shirt before wrapping her legs around his torso, never breaking their kiss, filling each other with love. She let him take her to his room where she finally surrendered all of herself to him and him to her. Is fate getting what you deserve, or deserving what you get? Jody Picoult Kiev, who was already consumed with alcohol, staggered his way out of the bar. After Isabel slaps him and left him there on the altar, he was not only embarrassed but was also hurt. That did hurt and I guess I deserve it, he mumbles to himself, singing his way to his car and laughing to himself. His auntie was right when she scolded him not to marry her, but somehow he couldn't do anything as his heart was now longing for her. He shouldn't have fallen in love with her, he should have ignored and do what he does to Alexis, where he only pursue, convinced, and get away. Yet he let her play with his heart and used him like a trash. He didn't gain anything from this, as he failed his mission, lost his alliance with the Alpha Rogue and lost the girl completely. He should have pushed her to mate with him, maybe in that way he wouldn't feel like this. He was to open his car when he felt something hit his head from the back. He fell on his knees, his eyes saw blurring figures. One chuckles, I guess karma, and he was hit again in the face, his face where he saw nothing but darkness. He jolted up when electric hit up his body. He looked around and found the Alpha Rogue smirking at his state. Kiev was being tied up to the chair. Again he ordered, and his beta scare him once more. His wolf no longer contacts with him. Tell me, Kiev. He walked closer to his chair. How does it feel like to be betrayed by her? Oh, the precious Isabel. He laughed like a maniac. Come on, England us, Kiev. Kiev spit at him and only to be hit with his mighty fist. Tisk tisk tisk. Don't you dare test my patience, Kiev. He laughed scornfully. You should know better than anyone else. The Alpha Rogue clenched his fist and hit him again with so much force that if it wasn't for Kiev's werewolf side he would surely have been dead by now. I told you to watch over our prey, not to feed on it. Now look at where it got you. Too bad, people are now writing your history today. That Kiev was left on the altar by his bride. She left him for her mate, the mighty Victor. He shook his head in disappointment. You never learn your lesson. Kiev started to laugh at that. What's so funny, Kiev? You made me realize one thing. He spit out his blood. You're right, Victor is a mighty alpha, because even you couldn't even compete with him. You're a coward hiding behind these facades you built. Guess what, karma? He quote what his kidnappers says earlier while he laughs. The Alpha Rogue growls at him, smashing his fist to his stomach and face. He stops looking back at him, forcing his chin to look up. Kiev wasn't gonna give up anytime sooner. You think you're going to hide this forever from him? Sooner or later he will find out, and you know Victor's way, whether you're his. The Alpha Rogue forced his mouth to shut with his hand. When the time comes I guess he'll find out, but not now or tomorrow. Trust me. He punches him again. Kiev woke up after a blackout from his final punch. He found himself in a cell now. His eyes couldn't see anything. He couldn't use his own werewolf senses as they were both quick, but he knows that there are others in the cell, rather one or two. The door opens and saunter the Alpha King again. Release him. Two men and took him by the arms. Make sure to make it seems like he tried to take his own life. Oh, Kiev, tell him and we'll take your aunt's life. Remember, you owe me. So you better be prepared when I call for you. Kiev lifted up his to look at the Alpha, but only to met with another figure in the cell, the person he never thought to see again. The guards took him out. He tries to look back, but his neck was badly hurt. The Alpha Rogue turns around, smirking at the figure in front of him. He sat on his haunches, his hand removing a strand of her hair. Sooner or later I'll need you on this, so don't disappoint me. He looked at another figure curled up in a corner. Standing up, he walked back out as Zane closes the door. Alpha, what we do now? We watch, let them enjoy this moment, we'll take her first before him, the alpha rogue smiled wickedly. You're the only one who can make me feel this way, and I love how you mend it. When she woke up, the rain is still heavy on the outside. She rolled back to find him still sleeping on the other side of the bed with his bare back facing her. She scoots over and cuddles him from the back, resting her head on his shoulder, despite her first time with someone. She had disregarded all those second thoughts, including her embarrassment, and embraced this moment with her mate. The man she almost lost because of her stupidity in decisions. How naive she was and blind to see that her mate truly loves her. I love you, she whispers. She felt him move, then throw his head sideways to try and look at her, then he turns around facing her. His hand trailing the outline of her face as she closes her eyes, feeling his touch. I can't believe it, he mutters, this is real. Her eyes slowly open, she rests her left hand on his cheek. I'm sorry, she told him, my mind was full on revenge to your rejection that makes me blind of what my heart really wants. Tears began to drop from her eyes that he instantly wipes it away with his thumb gently. I almost lost you, she sobs, and he hushes her with his kisses, then pull her towards him. We almost lost each other, he too started to cry, hugging her tightly to his chest. I can't believe I'm given a chance. How can you walk out of the day you've been dreaming about? His hands untangle from her body as he sat up, holding his head between his hands, with his legs bending a little, not reaching his chest. Jem was right, I shouldn't have come. I'm so stupid, so selfish. Isabel, feeling rejected again, sat up straight. She didn't want to go over that again. She thought she was what he wanted, yet it seems like what just happened between them was a mistake. Questions began filling her head. Did she make a mistake? No, definitely a no. She reaches across him. Victor, please don't do this to me again, her eyes pleading him, but his head was still lower in shame. Feeling hurt, Isabel jumped out of the bed looking for her clothes, which she failed to see as her lingerie was in pieces. The only piece of clothes she has is her wedding dress, was disarray in the hidden room downstairs. She felt Victor's hands around her waist, the tingles making her shiver with pleasure as their situation is quite intimate. Where are you going? He nuzzled his head to the crook of her neck where his mark engraved. They have already completed the mate bond when they made it a while ago. I'm sorry if you thought I'm rejecting you again, but I feel like what if I wasn't there, maybe you'll be married. Hap, he didn't finish as she abruptly turns around, putting her finger between his lips, her forehead to his. Even if you didn't, I would have been looking all over for you like a mad mate right now. I was in doubt in everything. Actually, walking down the aisle makes me realize it. The man at the altar, I wish it was you instead. She tried to hold back her moan since they're skin to skin and it's hard for her to continue on. I wanted you, not him, but your rejection holds me back. Something that was over 5 years ago. Add the two, I've been away and yet I was still holding a grudge, refusing to give you any chance. She didn't want to tell him that she did break off the wedding the week before, resulting in Kiev brutally beating her up. Lucky for Cora, who saved her before he took away her sanity. I'm telling you this again, I love you, Victor, so please spare other unwanted thoughts and take me again, as you're really making my hormones gone wild. He laughed at that, biting her lower lip before throwing her back on the bed, then he hovered above her, closing the distance between them. Sometime after, she panted while drawing circles on his chest, can I ask you something? If you weren't there to stop the wedding, then why? He kisses her on the forehead. I came to let you go. I wanted to imprint you once again in my mind and heart before letting you go. He huffed as if something heavy has been uplifted from him. Did you paint it? She asks, and he nodded his head in yes. When did you learn how to paint? She asks him again. I always loved to paint. If I wasn't an alpha, I would have become an artist. She caressed his cheek. I love how you painted me. He smiled. You do. She nodded her head, then leaned to kiss him on the lips. I couldn't get a 15-year-old out of my head. Those origami, I swear I still have them in my drawer. I picked them up after a bang on the door interrupt their moment making Isabel groan. I know she's here. No she isn't, look elsewhere they heard Jem telling a female but she kept on banging the door. Victor tried to get up but she pulled him back. Don't, let her be, not today besides I'm pretty sure Jem can handle it. She pouted her lips at him. I thought this is the part where I get clingy and you get up to handle the situation. He smirked at her. Well not this girl, she jumped on him. Where were we again, did you hear anything? He nodded no with a knowing smirk on his face as she pretends not to hear anything. Nope. Then she leans into him. I love the way we position ourselves but I hate to trouble you, we have guests. Morning. Victor smiled when he felt her arms around his waist. Why didn't you wake me? I could have helped you cook. She lays her head on his back. And I'm done. He turns around, his eyes wandering around her body as she just stood only in his shirt. He pulls her closer taking in her scent. Then cup her face with his hands. You'll be the death of me. Now come my belle as much as you're tempting right now but I don't want to leave you on empty stomach. They both laugh. They ate their breakfast silently. He felt a kick to his leg. He looked beside at her and she pretended to look elsewhere chuckling. He stood up with an evil smirk on his face. When she turns to kick him he was no longer there but find him standing next to her. Oh no you wouldn't, she screams at last as he pick her up and throw her to his shoulder. Come on, I have to eat, let me go. Victor. He runs with her in his arms then throw her on the couch in the living room. He tickles her making her laugh out loud. Victor stopped. Victor, you know sooner or later someone's gonna walk in on us. He pushed her hands away locking it above her head. So I don't care. He winks at her. What if I'm he gave her a confused look. Come on, I'm wearing nothing underneath. Before you say anything remember you kinda tore my. She bit her lower lip making him smirk. Now where did my feisty mate went to? He got off and pulled her up. She playfully pushes him and he held her right to his chest. Where is she? They heard the front door slammed open and someone stomping in the way. Isabel! Isabel! She shouted her name growling in anger. There you are, how could you, Evelyn growl at them. Victor push her at his back and growl back at Evelyn. Don't you dare disrespect my mate and my Pax Luna. I don't care whose mate are you, I'll kill you right now. She tried to hold him back as his wolf is resurfacing and ready to rip Evelyn into shred. I don't care if you kill me, Evelyn point her fingers to her. She almost killed my poor nephew and you disgrace my family. Heavy footsteps were heard and in came Jem, and Cora with other 5 members of the pack. Not all their pack lives here. How dare you do that to my loving nephew, you slut, if you have enjoyed his bed then why drag the wedding? You shameless piece of. Evelyn didn't finish as Cora slapped her. Victor on the other side is on the verge of shifting if it wasn't for Isabel. Cora, she called her pleading her not to but it fell on silent ear of Cora. Your nephew is the worthless here. He knew she was just confused but he forced her to make her decision. He is nothing but a coward and how dare you come here and yell at my brother's mate and Luna in the presence of our alpha. Your nephew is the shameless one. He knew that she didn't want to be weed any longer but he still tried to force her to do it. Go ask him again and tell him to tell you the truth that she did cancel the wedding the week before. Cora never took a second to breathe. What's more shameless was he beaten her and almost raped her if it wasn't for Kyle and me. Men like your nephew should die. Cora finally stopped at last trying to breathe. Everyone in the room were speechless including Victor. Isabel was crying now silently. He heard her when she cancelled the wedding and this was a week before. Victor gritting his teeth while looking at Cora whose eyes went wide with her hands to her mouth realizing what she just screamed out loud. She looked at Isabel mumbling I'm sorry. Victor had enough and was enraged. He make his way to Evelyn. His hands went straight to her neck to strangle her. Where is he? His voice was scary and all in alpha mode. She didn't reply. He tightened his hold. One last chance. Where is he? He's at home. Actually he's in the pack hospital. She struggles with her reply. He let her go, more like throwing her aside to take her to the dungeon. I'm going to find that bastard. If I ask you not to, would you please not do it, cause in doing it you're hurting me. Victor, she run to catch up on him. Victor, she calls him, but he quicken his steps. Victor, still he doesn't hear her, and instead of going to his car he runs towards the woods. She knew that he was turning to his wolf before his name fall from her lips. He was shifting and gone in the woods. Despite that, she still runs after him, chasing him by following his scent. Hani, her wolf, wanted Isabel to shift, but she was stubborn as she was focused on finding him. She tried to mind link him, but he has completely cut her off. It was getting dark, her legs were sore from their previous activity and running. She came to rest down a shade. Victor, she has lost him, don't know where he went. Isabel was growing in frustration. Victor can be a one hell of a stubborn mate. She growls, kicking the leaves on the ground, picking them up and threw it one by one. She was unsure if she was still in his territory or has gone off to another. She hugged her knees to her chest, rocking back and forth. In a second she heard growling. They were near to her. Rogue! A wolf growl at her, then came the others who haven't shifted yet. She instantly stood up, backing up against a tree, realizing she's now on another alpha's territory. They wouldn't know that she's Victor's mate. She may be marked, but she hasn't been announced as the Luna. I'm not a rogue, she retorted back at a grey wolf. Don't you dare use that tone on me, the wolf along with the others growl back at her. She took her fighting stance as Grey Wolf in front of her took another step. Seize her, he ordered. The others ready their positions to capture her, more than ready to jump at her all at once. They made their ways to her, but they were taken aback when large another wolf jumped right in front of her, shielding her from them. She breathed in his scent, knowing very well that it was no other than her mate Victor. Make a move to my mate and you will all pay the price, he growled at them, pounding his paws on the ground and ready to attack. The others began to circle around, then Victor's wolf growled loudly, making them cower a little bit back. Shift, his wolf growl at the wolves, as if they know him now. Alpha Victor, the wolf now shift back onto his human form. He changed, handing Victor another pair of shorts. No one makes a move on mine, she is mine. He went and shifted behind a tree before coming back with only a short, and he was shirtless. The Grey Wolf was none other than the beta of the Crescent Pack. He quickly dismissed his warriors. Beta Gori, he nodded to him. Sorry for the trouble, but I think my mate was a little lost. Gori looked between the two of them, his eyes linger more on Isabel. Look at my mate that way and I won't hesitate to strangle you, Beta. I didn't know she's your mate and we're deeply sorry, his eyes never leaving her even though Victor threatens him a while ago. Actually I think she's way better than who left her Alpha for a succumb. Victor didn't hesitate to jump to attack the Beta, but Isabel was quick to hold him back. Please don't, letting him come in her arm. Once she walked up to the Beta and slapped him hard, making him cringe. First, I'm not a BH, I'm our pack's Luna. Second, I never left my mate, and last, it was I who left the succumb. It was true, she never left him for another, she was hurt and she needed space. I'm sorry. The Beta bowed his head in shame and with respect. Victor grabbed her shoulder, holding her back. I'll discuss this with Alpha Alan, tell him I'll visit soon, and now you can excuse us. We are leaving. Beta Gori then left them alone. She felt his arms embrace her, but she shook at him off. Don't, Victor. You don't expect me to welcome with open arms. Especially when she was the one who hurt you, brother. Once they reached the pack house, Victor saw his sister stretching out in the living room with another female. The same sister who left them years ago, the one he called for advice. He never told her about his situation, but someone else might. When their parents died, Zoe, their older sister, was like their mother, but being an alpha was never her interest. She wanted to travel the world. Therefore once he reaches the mature age, she left him the pack. Oh, how's my dashing brother? She walks up to him, then gave him a big hug. Holding him tightly, then moved to sit back on the couch. "Oh moon goddess, it's been such long time," she smiles ahead with glee. "Oh, I have good news for you and also like for you to meet someone." She claps her hands in excitement. "Why are you here, Zoe? Did something happen?" he asks her. Victor was happy to see his sister back as they were very close to one another when he was young. She knows all about the ins and out, even the rejection which disappointed her, but somehow she never left his brother's side. She may have not have been here in person, but few phone call exchanges and gifts was enough to fill the void. Zoe always supports him and Cora in everything they do. Nervously she grins at him. "I want you to know that I'm getting married soon." "Wow! That's great, I mean finally you're settling down. My big bad sister is getting married." He hugs her again. "So where is he?" Sean is busy on his business trip, but he'll drop by soon. "And oh gosh, I almost forgot. I would like you to meet Mia." She gesture for the girl on the other side. Victor reach out his hand for Mia, who shyly smiles at him. Victor thought this is now or never. He breathe in, he has to tell his sister about Isabel and him already mating. "Zoe, what is she doing here?" Zoe stood up, storming to where Isabel is standing, but Victor held back her arm. "We're mated," she nodded her head in disapproval. "No, get her out. I mean get out of this pack and on our land." "Get out!" she shouted at Isabel. "I don't give a bad thing if she's your mate." Isabel starts to sobs now, repeating, "I'm sorry, sorry, you Isabel, just get out of our lives." She tries to reach for her but was blocked by Victor. Cora came running inside of the house, catching up her breath. "What's going on here?" "Zoe," she was surprised to see their older sister, but seeing her glare at Isabel, Cora frown. "Are you seriously doing this, Zoe?" Cora was disappointed in her sister. "Can't you be happy for them?" she begged her. "How could you side with her? How could you, Cora? How can you be friends with someone who parade her boyfriend and fling in front of your brother?" Victor didn't want this to be brought up. He rejected her. Cora tries to reason with their sister. That was years ago and Victor did apologize for it, he even begs her. And what did she do? She didn't give him a chance. She left him, humiliated him beyond something he did when he's just 18 years. Zoe starts to sob up. You don't know how hard it is to hear him saying he can't live anymore. This made Cora speechless while Isabel was still sobbing. He was on the verge of dying, and you know when I went to her." Zoe pointed at Isabel. "She looks happy. I begged her and you know what she did, she said no. So why should I welcome her here? You're not needed here, slut." Isabel fell on her knees, her hands in front of her, begging for forgiveness. "Please, I'm sorry, Victor, I'm sorry," she cries out to everyone, begging for their forgiveness. Victor, who saw his mate, got down on his knees in front of her, his hands cupping her face and wiping her tears away. "You don't need my forgiveness, I should be the one to ask you that." His tears fell from his eyes. "I should be, since I turn you into that person. I love you." You know that he pulls her in his arms before carrying her bridal style to his room. "She's not needed," Zoe shouted. "Shut it, Zoe." Others were surprised to find Jem's older brother Kyle standing at the door. "It's not like you're any difference from her. At least she owns up to it and chose him instead. But what about you?" That shuts her up. She glares at him. "No one needs your opinion. I still hate you," and she storms out of the house with Kyle following behind her. Everyone else was in surprise, trying to piece the info of Zoe and Kyle together. "Us is in the past, we could never go there." "Kyle, keep on following Zoe." She stops and turn around, shouting at him, "Shut off, Kyle." "What, Zoe? That's it, you made speeches to her yet you don't follow what you believe in." Zoe caught him off guard when she got to him in speed, punching him in the face, knocking him down on the ground. Kyle held up her hands and she struggled against his hold as he was still stronger than then he flips her over. Zoe didn't give up as she kept on hitting him until she grew tired under his hold, then she began to sob. Kyle got off of her, then settled to sit beside her, watching the sun almost set as she still sobs there. He listens as she cries. It hurts him to hear her like this, but he knew that them was no longer there for him and her. The boat where they should both be on has long gone. It is too late now. They started off wrong and everything they went through was all wrong. Once he heard her sob quiet and he began to speak. You shouldn't hate her. You out of all people should know that Zoe never speaks. She slowly sat up next to him, looking overhead with no glance to Kyle. You hate what she does to your brother, yet you're doing the same thing to others without thinking much of it. You rejected me, she hiccups, just like Victor rejected her, he replies. You cheated on me, she continues to blame him, and I apologize every day, begging for your forgiveness for it. She pulled her knees up, hugging them together with her arms rocking back and forth like a child. You never let me explain, Zoe. Kyle struggled to find words as his emotions has get the best of him. He really did love her and he still do, even though he has Clara now, but deep down him there's always a place for Zoe. You keep on pushing me away, and never gave me the chance to explain. So why do you hate her when clearly she has given him a chance in loving him? He saw in the corner of his eyes Zoe wiping away her tears. I'm not blaming you for anything, as clearly us not working out was totally my fault. I am only hoping for you to be happy for them, see from other people's view. You should know how it feels like to be rejected, so why not understand her? Zoe wipes away her fallen tears. She tries to clear her throat. I'm sorry, Kyle. She began to sob again. He patted her on the back. I'm sorry for everything, she cries. After all those years of running away and giving him a cold shoulder, she has finally apologized to him. It's surprising to him, and he knew that she meant it when she apologized, because the Zoe he knew was the one who never apologized to anyone, even if she has done wrong. He found himself struggling to hold his tears, but he couldn't, so he stood up to go. Just think about it, Zoe. He walked away from her knowing they shouldn't be together. They have both moved on with other people. They already made their choices and there's no more K and Z anymore. Their past was nothing but memories he wishes to forget, cause whenever he thinks of it still pains him. Kyle, he heard her crying, calling out for him, and it took a lot of his audacity to keep on walking. He was afraid that if he turned then he wouldn't let her go. Kyle. He clenched his fist while his eyes closed. He took another 2 steps. Kyle, he felt her arms around his waist holding him back, her head on his shoulder. Please don't walk away from me, she sobs. I still love you. Instantly he turns around facing her. Gathering her face in his hands, his tears now pouring, he looked her in the eyes. And I still love you more. With that his lips smashed on hers, pulling her against his body, not thinking of letting her go anytime sooner. Yet when they pull away his eyes widen, realizing what he has done. We can't do this, I'm sorry, but that was before. I love Clara now as us is in the past, he says, and walk away from her, not even to turn back for her. Zoe watches him walking out of her life for the 3rd time, and she couldn't even bear to look at him doing the same thing he did before. Kyle always does it to her. That's why she left years ago, leaving the vulnerable Victor to take over the pack. I'm not perfect, I make mistakes, I hurt people. But when I say sorry, I mean it. Isabel's head was down in her hands, while Victor bends in front of her at the bed. He has been trying to make her look at him. Babe, come on, don't think about it, please. He took her hands away from her face, making her look up with eyes still closed. Please, Isabel, don't do this. Come on, let me see those pretty eyes, he begs her. I'm dying here, Isabel. He smiles when he saw those deep, soulful brown eyes again, with tears falling on her cheeks, which he rubbed it with his thumb soothingly. She was right, Victor, he tries to hush her. I shouldn't hold grudges to something that happened when we were young. She rested her forehead on his. I'm sorry for ignoring you, I'm sorry for leaving you, and I'm sorry for choosing somebody else over you. Her tears fell on his cheeks now. His hands never left her face. Being young shouldn't give me an excuse for the mistake I made when I rejected you. I don't care about other things in the past and I don't want you to apologize again. What matters to me is that I have you here with me right now. He wipes off another tears from her face. In the end you chose me, not him, and it tells me it was never anybody else, is it? She nodded her head. You should also know that there was nobody else for me too, it was just you. Only you, my love. I wish we could start off right from the start. He kisses her lips, her nose, her eyes, and then her forehead before hugging her tightly, not crushing her with it but to comfort and let her know he's there for her. Victor, why did you try to kill yourself? He remains silent. He kisses her hair one at a day. Isabel, we'll talk about everything once everything settled down. He kisses on her forehead again. No, Victor, the first want to know everything from you now. Therefore he sat down beside her, then began to talk of how he almost loses his wolf because of their separation. How people talk behind his back not knowing she was his mate. How he tried to kill himself every time he felt her making out with Kiev. He now knew that she didn't have sex with Kiev, as the day of the wedding was the day he took her innocence when she found him in that destruction state. I'm sorry, but please promise me you won't ever have thoughts like that, please. She crawls on his lap, taking his face in hands and kisses every part of his face. I promise, Isabel, I won't even think about it, now that I have. He smiled up at her. There was a knock on their bedroom door, then it slightly opens, pulling Victor and Isabel apart from each other. Zoe in tears stood there with Cora and some pile of clothes in her hands. Behind Zoe, Victor squint his eyes seeing Zoe. Victor and he moved in front of Isabel protectively. What do you want, Zoe? She tries to suppress her sobs. Please, can I speak with Isabel? Victor refused to move, not until he felt a hand on his shoulder. Isabel's right hand went up to his face, caressing it. Victor, it's fine, please leave us alone. He pecks her on the lips, then went out, shutting the door behind him. Zoe stood behind the door, then slowly she broke into tears. I'm sorry, Isabel, I shouldn't lash out on you like that. I hate you for doing it to him, yet to me you're way better than myself. At least you're here right now making him happy. For his sake, let's forget the past. Isabel didn't for a minute wait. She went up and hugged her, which in return she did. I'm sorry too for telling you no. I can't imagine if someone else does that to my brother. I'm sorry, I should have seen from your point of view. Zoe hushed her up. Shhh, it's okay, let's never think of it again. This is one of those nights where we talk of relationships and crushes. So Kyle and you? Cora asked Zoe while polishing Isabel's nails in a Pantone red as Myra lay on the bed lazily. It has been days since they patched things up. Isabel has finally moved in with Victor, as much as she wanted to stay for Clyde, but Cameron dejectedly kicked her out. Jokingly told her that she is a grown-up woman. He was happy at her choice. Tonight the girls are sleeping over, first time Isabel does something like this. She only has one friend, but Cameron never approves their sleepover, so she never went to any. Zoe paused, looking at herself in the mirror. We dated when I was 17. We weren't best friends or anything, we just met each other at a party and started to hit things off. Our school were actually rivals, but it's funny how we live in the same pack but never get to meet each other, not until that night. Zoe keeps combing her hair in front of the mirror while smiling at the memories, then suddenly her posture changes to something more painful. And when we turned 18 and found out we're mate, he sort of rejected me on the spot, saying I was just one of his. The room was silent until Cora dramatically rolled her eyes, trying to make things better. Just say the word FK buddies. Gosh, I'm not 18 anymore. Zoe, Myra, and Isabel all burst into fit laughter. So we kind of get back together again, and then he cheated on me, or that's what I thought. Then she stops combing her hair and smiles to her reflection in the mirror. Can I ask something, Zoe? Isabel blow on her other nails as Cora starts on the other one. Zoe nodded her head. Does your fiancé knows about it since you guys are back together? Myra lighten up. Boy, I'm curious too. Plus Zoe groan. Yeah, we already talk on FaceTime and both agree to call it off. Well, we weren't really working out. I didn't want to broke it off but he made me do it. She sigh. He actually ordered me to go back. Duce, the girls exclaim. As for Kyle and I, we're not back together. One minute he told me he loves me but then he says he loves her more. Cora's jaw dropped while Isabel accidentally ruined one of her nails, smudging the color on her hand. Mother _Ker. Zoe stood up from the dressing table and jumped on the bed. Children, tisk tisk. Hey, I'm 22, pouted Cora. Yes, both. Myra seconded. And I am 24. We're not children, old lady, Isabel retorted. Cora, after drying Isabel's nails, plop beside Zoe, her face turning red while she blinks her eyes at Isabel. What? She lay between the two sisters on the bed. The old lady's story has finished now. I'm curious of you and my brother, she pouted again. Zoe hit her with the pillow. I'm not an old lady, still in my bubbly mid-30 child. Isabel hit Cora again with another pillow. And I ain't discussing your brother and I. But he's not mine brother. Myra pat her lashes. Aw, you guys are so boring. Come on Isabel, just wanna know if he has marked you yet. Cora grip on her elbow shamelessly. You're so dumb. See child, you still haven't learned yet. Zoe shook her head. Can't you smell her scent is kind of different? Both Cora and Myra uses their werewolf senses to sniff, with Cora's hand going to her neck and found the mark on it. Wow, cool, she said in awe. Can't wait for my mate. Then Myra finishes with gushes all over their face. So just marked each other. Isabel groaned, knowing Cora and Myra won't let anything go, not until she got the details. We also mated. Zoe prop up from the bed. You guys did use protection, right? Myra again asked. This time Isabel was too stunned to move. OMG, you didn't. She shook her head. No, you guys should. Isabel cuts her off. It was my first time. Protection was never in the way because I was so lost in doing it. Zoe looked shocked. Wait, you're first? Yes, my dearest, my first in everything. So move, and this conversation about me and your brother ends here. She embarrassingly hid her face under the pillow. Zoe took it off and both sisters crushed her in a hug. You guys might want to go somewhere tomorrow. Myra grins at Zoe, then to Isabel and Cora. Ladies, we're going clubs tomorrow to celebrate. Cora bluff. Yeah, tell that to Mr. Alpha himself and see if he's letting her go. She refers to Isabel. And who says he has to know? Zoe patted her eyelashes. Let's go crazy and go. Go. Go, I can't believe you make me wear a wig. Isabel twirled on her fake hair as she settled down behind the bar after dancing on the dance floor. I swear I look like Donald. Enjoy our happy meal. Cora buffed her cheeks, folding her arms at the bar stool next to Clara. Ladies, you need to loose a little. Stop being so cranky. Myra beamed from the crowd. 5 Gimlet. Zoe slams her hands on the counter as the bartender took her order. Coming right up, Zoe. He winks at her, then to Clara. Zoe was finding it awkward when Clara found out about their nightclub plan and has asked to join in. She knew it wasn't her fault that her and Kyle aren't together, so she agreed, putting aside her jealousy act. Good luck with that. Kyle sling his arm around Clara's waist. What are you doing here? Zoe almost yelled at him while Clara pushes him off. This is our night only, her voice in hushed tone as she whisper with disappointment at him. Sorry, but her brother drag us here. Kyle lower his voice, not for the other girls to hear. Seems like your night out is not a secret to anyone. He kisses her on the cheek and she giggle in response. Myra sigh lovebirds, and Zoe was almost in brink of her tears. Not only she was jealous, but Kyle always knew how to hurt her so bad. After all those years she left, she thought she has moved on, yet here she is back to where she was left on. A man sat beside Isabel, so *X on the beach with a beautiful whir. He handed her a drink, then put his hands on hers. She pushes his away. First off, gross. Second, it's night and I don't see the sea here. Third, I'll only have *X on the beach with my mate. She felt sparks around her waist. I say, you look hot wearing this. He pulled off her wig, but more hotter like this. He pulled down her hair, smelling in her vanilla shampoo. The man still stares at the couple. Victor growl at him. Move, prick, she is mine. He sniff at her hair. Finally he scurry away once he knew he's an alpha, and not just any alpha. It's Victor Salazar. How did you? She turned to ask, but he locked her within his arms. He plays with the hem of her dress. You didn't tell me you're coming to a club tonight, she moaned in return, feeling his hand in her thigh. I won't say no if you have told me. He moves his hand a little higher to her private area, making her moan out loud, her hands on the counter to hold herself. Luckily the music was high and people were busy with their own business. Cora is chatting non-stop with Jem while Kyle and Clara are making out on the other side. Zoe was nowhere to be found anymore. She closes her eyes as she felt him move his hand to her center. Victor, he stops, then whisper in her ear. No touching for the week, thanks bro. The bartender handed him his drink. He downed it, then released her from his hold. That's your punishment, baby, and he walked off saluting at her. She groaned. Victor, too late, he disappeared in the crowd. Cora came up to her. Hey, what happened? And where's Zoe, your brother? And Zoe, I think she left. She pushes off from the chair, standing up straight. Screw him, I'm dancing the night away. Now who's with me now? That's what I'm talking about. Jem throw his arms around the two, guiding them back on the dance floor. It's a new generation. Both girls scream the lyrics. Why did you request On the Dance Floor by J-Lo again? Jem complain, you guys are so lame. They move towards him, making him move around. The song changes and Pillow Talk was on. Isabel giggled to the song lyrics. I swear I'm high tonight. Seductively she dances around the pole, sliding up then bending her legs to twirl around it. Jem's eyes almost bulge out while Cora watch with amusement. Wow girl, she screams. Isabel loses herself in the music. She felt a pair of arms around her. It wasn't Victor. She pushes him off and he held her wrist tight. He was also an alpha. She pushes him away, writhing her hand out of his. Jem moves between them, snarling at him. Move pup, he told Jem. You get out of here, Alpha Lonato. He laughed at him. What you're going to do, pup? The music stops. The floor was divided by the two packs. Kyle moves to stand in the front. What do you want, Alpha? Jem folded his arm. I want her. He pointed to Cora and then Isabel and her. I hate to say this, but no can do, Alpha. He growled at them. You're in my territory. Last time I checked, this is a neutral territory which is now part of the Crimson Pack. Lonato was ready to attack Jem. A loud growl boomed throughout the club. Victor jumped from one of the VVIP lounge. Isabel got upset when she saw a female in a revealing dress stood there from where Victor jumped off. Cora clamped her hands on their mouth. How is she alive? Isabel became confused. Everybody makes way for him. His hand went to her waist. Got a problem with my mate Lonato? He shook his head. No good. He looks around. Now everybody go home, the night ends here, he declared, and in a minute the place was empty, leaving only them and the workers. Cora glared at the lady from the lounge as if she wants to rip her apart. Take her home, Jem. I'll come home after. He walked towards the female, leaving them there. Isabel felt hurt by his action, but she just pushed it off and went home with Jem and the rest. Be honest if you don't want me anymore. The clock strikes 6 a.m. in the morning. Victor hasn't returned yet and she hasn't slept either. Their room was a little bit wrecked when her wolf loses control. She pushes off her duvet and went downstairs for the kitchen. Last night she tries to ask Cora about the lady, but she just dismissed her. So she turned to Jem using her Luna voice, which Jem told her about Victor and the lady. Practically she was the ex-Luna, the one that everyone thought who died. She sat in the living room gripping her hair. Jem also explained Alexis was Victor's girlfriend and Luna who cheated on him with Kiev. Once they were caught, they stopped the affair, something Victor or his sisters never told her. According to Jem, the guy was so in love with Alexis that when they were caught and Alexis chose Victor, he lost his good ways. When Alexis was thought to be killed by the rogues, Victor lose another part of his alpha wolf since she was mated to him. She didn't know their relationship was like that. Did Victor really lie when he says she was nothing to him and she was his first love? She heard the car outside. Isabel has asked her wolf to mask their scents. The doors open. Victor walked in. Not seeing her, he went straight to their room. She waited if he was going look for her, the door opens then closes she waited but he never came down. Her chest felt a twitch of pain when an hour passed and Victor never put up an alarm or come down quickly to look for her like what other mates does. She suddenly felt nausea and suffocated at the same time. She couldn't breathe, she just needs air. So she left the pack house to go for a run. Maybe we made a mistake, she talked to her wolf who was not responding to her. She tries to shift in her wolf form and when it was successful she fully shifted back to human then to her wolf. Running in the woods, catching rabbits for food in her wolf form was liberating. Victor never links her even anyone in the pack. It's like she was automatically shut out from everything. She went back when it's getting dark, and saw one of his car missing. Cora runs to her, hugging her tightly. I was so worried, where have you been? In the woods. Those bastards, I told them to look out for you but they say they haven't seen you. It's okay, I'm asked my scent. Jem hug her after Cora feeling good already. She nodded her head before dramatically pose why not. She took a shower then changes into a sweater and a black legging then she head down for dinner. She made a stop to Zoe's room yet what she overheard broke her heart even more. I thought you like her, she heard Cora. I do like her but Alexis, she's my best friend's sister, I don't know what to think anymore. Cora. Whether to be on her side or Alexis' side. Zoe, you know Isabel is a good girl and also one of your friend's sister too. They're both your friend's sisters. I know. She hears her sobs. Isabel steps away from the door without a sound and went to the kitchen. Everybody settled on their seat. Kyle and Clara were the last one to arrive. Isabel, after saying their grace, starts to eat but her stomach was like an empty gallon that wasn't filled easily. She felt nothing going in her stomach. Isabel, are you sure you okay? Jem asks. Yeah, I am. She forced another spoon of food in her mouth. Then gave up. All eyes were on hers. Anyone knows where Victor is? Nobody speaks. Guys, have you seen Victor? He's at the Crescent Pack, Zoe says. He's there for Luna. Alexis, Clara chirp in, making Zoe growl at her. Isabel almost cry when she heard Clara said Luna. What Clara? Cora hisses at her. Why do you call her Luna? Luna. Zoe repeated as if it's a question and before anyone could say anything Isabel stood up. Tell Victor the first say thank you. Then she walked up to her room. Shutting the door behind her she cried, muffling it with her hand. Victor never came home that night and she woke up again feeling nausea. She instantly grabbed her phone, dialing a number on her phone. Once he heard his voice, the one person whom she can turn to whenever she feels down or in trouble. Cameron. She started to cry. Isabel, what's wrong? Can you come pick me up please? She heard him shuffling around. Are you okay? Please can you just come get me? He fell silence right now. Cam. He didn't speak then he sighed. I'm coming, stay there, don't go anywhere. She turned off the phone then waited for him. Her phone rang again. Cameron was outside the house. She got up from the bed and run out. No one knows she already left. She didn't even want to write any note or letter. Hey Cameron, look at her with concern once she was in the car. Just go Cameron please, and she broke down again. You don't always expect me to be there when all you ever done was ignoring me, mate. Victor, what are you doing? Jem sat on the chair opposite him in his office. He came early today and when he smelled her scent in their room he decided to stay in the office at his other reserve house. He didn't know how to tell her about Alexis. You're avoiding her, aren't you? He didn't say anything. You should have told her the truth, he growled at him. What, Victor? I mean, do you really love her or you just want her back to get even with Kiev? That's not true, he growled at him. I do love her, she's the only one I love. Then what are you doing? Isabel needs you, man. You need to explain to her, reassure her that it's her you love, not Alexis. He growled at him again. Alexis was part of my past. Then why are you doing here? Victor ignored him and went back to his work. She already knows. Victor, what do you mean? He raises his eyebrow at Jem. She uses her Luna tone on me, so yes, she already knows on the club night. Seeing that you don't care, my job is done here. He walk out there. Victor threw off things on his desk, cursing to himself. He needed to talk to her, his wolf resurfacing, but he composed himself, fighting against his wolf. He got up and went for the pack house not far from where he was. He didn't waste any minute. He desperately run up to their room, knocking on the door. Isabel, he called. Come on, Isabel, I'm sorry. He twist the doorknob, opening it. He saw the bed empty. He look around and she wasn't there. He waited for her on the bed. Minutes pass and she wasn't here. What have I done? His head in his hands. A knock was heard, then the door opens. She said thank you. He turned up to find Cora. What are you doing here? Can't I see my brother? She folded her arms. You do realize she's gone, right? He groaned, rubbing his face with distress. I know, I saw her left this morning and you didn't even stop her, he shouted at her. For what, Victor? Another female voice came inside the room. Zoe, saunter inside past Cora. You ignore her, she needed you yet you hurt her. Bipolar much, Zoe? I thought you say Luna. Alexis to her. She glared at Cora. That was Clara, not me. She corrected her sister before continuing. So don't expect her to still be here or for us to stop her when she's hurt. He screamed, punching the wall, leaving a hole there. He growled at his sisters. He threw the sofa to the other side. Don't tell me what to do, she's my mate. No matter what, she isn't supposed to leave me. Gem, he shouted, and he came right away. Yes, Alpha. He tries to breathe. His nostrils in flare. Find her and bring her back here. His voice echoed throughout the pack house. He grabbed his keys and stormed out of the house to go look for her. He wasn't really mad at her for leaving him, but rather to himself for acting strange, which gave Isabel false thoughts of him and Alexis. He didn't have much choice when the elders of his pack at 16 prompted him to mate Alexis at such young age for their pack. They say it's best to have a Luna in order to strengthen their pack. So he mated her, took her as his Luna to betray at last. He found out that she's sleeping with Kiev, and the leakage of some high classified information on the pack was her. Nobody knew about it except for him, about the last piece. So when he thought a rogue kills her, she didn't matter to Victor, as she was the traitor of their pack. Yet it was unbelievable for the dead to be resurrected. There was something fishy about her appearance, that's why he makes sure to get his answers. They say to enjoy every moment of your life while you can, because you'll never know when and where we will be gone. Victor stops by Cameron's place. He knew that Isabel won't go anywhere, as this was the only place she calls home. He kills off the engine and went out, storming towards his house. He knocks on the door, which opens up a minute, revealing an angry Cameron. What are you doing here, Alpha? He crossed his arms. Where is she, Cam? I don't know who you're looking for. Don't you lie to me, he snarled at him. Isabel, he calls her. Isabel, if you don't come outside this instance, I swear I'll force my way in, he shouted again. He saw her coming up behind Cam. Her eyes buffy and in red, as she has been crying all day. He suddenly felt her pain with guilt rushing through his body. What do you want, Victor? She wipes off her tears. He moves to her, his hand cupping her face as tears drop from his eyes. Seeing her hurt has also hurt him, realizing what he has done to her. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, Isabel. I wanted to tell you, but I didn't know how. I'm so sorry. She tries to push his hands away. I don't want to hear it, Victor. Please just go and leave me alone, she begged him, but he refuses to do so. Isabel, just please don't do this to us. We just got back together, please, he begged. Then why avoid me like a plague, Victor? Why? I'm sorry, he says. You lie to me when you say I'm your first choice. She punched him in the chest with her fist, not causing any harm to him. You lie to me when you say you have feelings for me. She hit him again. You lie. He stops her fist. No, Isabel, I never lie. He pulled her closer. I never lie to you when I say those things. In fact, I love you and that's the truth. He kisses her, holding her closer to him. At first she struggled to push him away, but for a while she responded to his kisses. He misses her scent, her touch, her kisses, her smile and her whole presence when he was with her. They pull away to take a breath. I can't, Victor, I think I made a. Please don't say it, Isabel, please, he begged her TV. She tries to wipe off her tear. Hear me out, Isabel, please. He held her hands as he got on his knees, now begging her. Isabel, please, she cries louder. Why did you do it then, Victor? Why? He kisses her hands, still on his knees. When I first met her that night I didn't know how to react. I didn't want you to find out about it. I knew you will doubt what we have, but believe it, I was trying to find a way to rid of her as she was threatening us and the pack. Alexis leaked some of the pack important info back then. So if I hadn't found out at the time, Crimson won't exist today. She was a traitor, a dangerous one that I need to look out for. You still should have told me. Yes, I was wrong, I know now. He slowly got up. Please, Isabel, I swear I of you and only you I belong to. Only you made my heart beat. He put her hands. Oh, his heart, she cries harder. He pulls her to her chest, his hand running through her hair, calming her down. When they patch things up, Isabel hugged Cameron before bidding their goodbyes. On their way, Victor never let go of her hand. He held on tight to it. Victor, he raised her hand and kissed the back of it. Yes, Isabel, she shifted in her seat nervously. He looked at her with worried. Isabel, she took a breath. Please don't be mad. I don't know if you're ready, but I just found out today I'm pregnant, she blurted. Their car suddenly stopped. Victor, look aside. You're kidding me, but she remained silent. He reaches for her, kissing her full on the lips. I love you and thank you, he whispered, pulling away from her. She smiles at him, holding his hand. He started up the car again. His face glowing with happiness. I can't believe we're pregnant, he repeated, looking back at her while kisses the back of her hand. All of a sudden Victor's facial expression changes. He tries to pull her to him, but it was too late. A truck crashed into them, rolling them over until they were upside down. Isabel, he groaned in pain. Looking aside, Isabel was out. He tried to shake her shoulder. Baby, please wake up. He tries to reach across, but he was stuck and his arms and legs were bleeding. Jem, he opens up his mind link. There was no answer. Kyle, still no answer. He saw leather boots coming towards their car. Then her door side swung open. He growled at a figure who unbuckled her seat belt and held her up to his arms. Victor couldn't do anything as his wolf was trying to heal them both as he was badly wounded. He kept on growling at the person thrashes around as he left him behind. Then he saw a fire starting. He withers around trying to free himself. Isabel, he screams as he tries again. He got out in time as the car exploded. Jem, he mind links his beta. Who answer this time? His vision was blurring. Bring trackers here at south side border near Alan's territory. He fell down on the ground, mumbling Isabel as darkness took over him. Losing you means losing myself. This pain I don't think I can ever erase. Isabel, he screamed, waking up on his bed. He panted, trying to control his breath. Sweat was glistening over his body. Feeling strong and seen that he's all heal, he tried to get up, but a hand stopped him. You have to rest, Victor, he growled when he saw Alexis near him. He wonders how she get to be here in his pack. The last thing he remembers, she wasn't allowed to be here. He pushes her hand away and stood up. Don't tell me what to do now. My mate has been taken and I'm not, she retorted at him, and he laughs at her remark. For you it was just a title, nothing more to me, and before you flatter yourself, don't dream of something that was never there. I only have one woman in my life and she is my mate, who is not here in this house. Yet I have to congratulate you, Alexis, you have no idea what you're walking into. He grabbed a shirt, putting it on, and walked down to his office. Alpha Gem came from the back door. Victor signaled him to his office. He set down, his hand covers his distressed face. I've already deployed our 10 secret warriors to track her down, Gem says as he sat opposite him. He shook his head. Thanks, Gem. If I ever got my hands on that bastard, he cringed. Who, Victor? Kiev, he was the one who took her. Make sure to also track him down. I am not gonna let him live his life. If I ever find him. Gem sigh heavily. We will find him soon, and that's a promise, Alpha. He took her on our way back. He couldn't finish as he was angry at himself, wanting to get his hand on the so-called prick Kiev who took her from him. The door swing open, Zoe storming her way inside. Victor, you should have been resting, she scolded him. Resting? My mate is missing and you're telling me to rest. Are you crazy? No, Victor, but you need to. He grip his hold on the armchair. Victor will find her, but please, right now your pack needs you. He stood up, threw his desk against the wall, then crashes other things in his office. Need me? How many times do you want me to neglect and reject my mate over this pack? Zoe, he scoffed at her. My mate needs me, Zoe. She loves me and I rejected her for this pack. You know it very well than anyone. I never rejected her for Alexis, and now she's been kidnapped and you're telling me to choose the pack over her again. He shook his head with disbelief. Then why did you ignore her? Hey, we didn't tell you to choose this. He growled at her ferociously. You shut up, Zoe. Say that again and I won't hesitate to kill you, he threatened her. Gem glared at Zoe, then he spoke. It's your fault that didn't leave him any choice. You chose to run away once Kyle rejected you, leaving a 14-year-old to fend for this pack when Rogues and the Crescent Pack were attacking this pack, and here you are telling him that he has a choice. What choice does he have when the only option he could do is do right by her and reject her? Zoe completely became quiet. She started to sob. I'm sorry, Victor. Well, sorry doesn't make it all right. We have to look for the Luna. Victor filled with agitated. Gem, please prepare the car. I'm going to look for her. Victor. Zoe tries to reach for him. You don't understand, Zoe. I do know you don't. We were okay. We were happy on our way here. I was excited to become a father when out of nowhere were sabotage. Both Zoe and Gem gasp in horror. She's pregnant. Victor nodded his head, then he weeps. Zoe moves her arms around him, comforting her brother. I'm sorry again, Victor. Know that she's a strong girl. I know she's waiting for you to come and get her, and trust me, that girl will do anything to buy their time for you to be on time. Gem came behind and pat him on the shoulder. Congrats, man, but don't worry, we'll find her. Yes, and it's why I'm leaving now. I'm not going to delay anything further. What is done, cannot be undone. Macbeth Kiev sat beside her still body with only her chest rising and fall surviving through a machine. It has been a week since they kidnapped her. Yet within that 1 week they have also discovered her pregnancy. No doubt the baby was Victor's pup, which angers him as he still hates Victor. When he almost convinced Isabel to be his, he thought he was going to win, yet fate once again left him stranded as a loser. He knew Alexis was alive, the greedy who uses others for her own benefit, the one who fool him and turn him down for Victor twice, then choose to sleep with the alpha rogue when she couldn't have Victor. She betrayed everyone in the past. Isabel was way different from Alexis. She was innocent and never led anyone on. Right, she was just like Alexis. She also made a fool out of him. He clenched his fist while watching Isabel in coma. The door opens. The alpha rogue strutted his way in. Kiev, any improvement? He nodded his head no with annoyance. He would have taken her away to be his only, except he wouldn't dare to do it as the alpha rogue was hot on his tail. He may look non-passive aggressive in the eyes of others, but behind his facade smile was a cruel, fisco, and a cunning alpha. He came and stood beside her, followed by a female doctor of his pack, the one who helps him during the kidnapping. Her name was Ina. She nervously checked on her. Kiev looks up to her, but she just avoid his eyes. Kiev find it strange. Inamorata, the annoying alpha rogue, spoke again, and Kiev just relaxes back in his chair, closing his eyes as the alpha was ruining his day. I want you to take out the unwanted thing growing in her, Alpha. You know that's not possible. Kiev eyes suddenly snap open. What did you say? He moves to her as the doctor cower a little bit back. Alpha, there is a possibility she will die if we took her pup away. The pup is helping her survive. If we took it away, there's a chance she won't wake up anymore. That's not the answer I want right now. I want to mate her as quick as possible. He growled at her loudly. Kiev got out of his seat. Chill out, Alpha. I know you want to mate her, but you heard the doctor. There is a chance she might die. He smashed the chair against the wall. You got her pregnant, didn't you? He accusingly pointed his finger at Kiev. He saw a hurt expression on Ina's face and he wonders why. No, the pup isn't mine. If you wanna know, that's Alpha Victor's pup. He was the only who mated with her because she's his true mate. The Alpha growled ferociously at no one. So please calm down and let's see what Doctor, he zoned in his werewolf vision on her name tag for her last name Yatsui, has thought on this. She smiles at him, then her gaze to the angry Alpha. We can wait until the pup is born. By the time she would be healed fully. Then you can mate her and do whatever with the pup. The Alpha seems to be thinking for a moment before agreeing to the doctor's suggestions. Very well, we'll do that, but I want the thing to be dead once it came out of her. Ina cringed with disgust on how he talk of the innocent pup in such ways. What if Victor found out before the pup is born? What would be our next move? The Alpha laughed at Kiev's words. He's too blinded to know anything. He just totally bought all the lies. What a step one, he laughed humorously while Kiev and Ina watches him with disdain. Kiev always thought Victor was the most cruelest, yet this Alpha is not only cruel but also crazy. He definitely need to be in a mental hospital. Kiev. Kiev, he keeps repeating his name. Don't you want to hide? You know Victor, once he aim for something he'll gets it. So you're his target. Don't you think you shouldn't be on my territory? Kiev realizes his mistake and how the Alpha uses him so that he can remain unsuspected. He shouldn't let his anger blinded him. Now he has no other chance to live, as Victor is not a merciful person, especially when someone took something away from him. He won't even bother to let him explain, as the Alpha says Victor can be cruel when he wanted to. It may not be his exact words, but that was what he implies to. He slumped back against the wall. The Alpha laughed at him, then left to go out of the room with his laughter still echoing the hallway. Ina moves to Kiev, but something sharp from the wall, which was a knife that was hanging loosely to the side due to the chair thrown by the Alpha earlier. It has grazed her arm. The blood now drips on the floor and she winces in pain. Kiev moves to help her, but something stops him. The smell was enticing. It was coming from the doctor. Ina. He watches her with lust, his wolf taking over him. He growls with proudness in his voice, mate. I think I'm going crazy, please give me a sign. Let me know you have survived. A month. Victor sat behind his desk mumbling a month over and over again. It has been a month since she's been kidnapped. There were no words or even a clue on her whereabouts. He has been traveling everywhere and still no result of Kiev or his Isabel. It was like she just vanished in a thin air. Alan has also lent out his best track warriors to search for Isabel. In fact, they have never found her too. Yet despite missing his Luna, Victor never neglected his duty as an Alpha and has trained everyone in the pack just in case rogues attack them again in full force. He sat there thinking of her and his unborn pup. The door opens. Cameron walks inside. He sat opposite him. You need to rest, he says. Victor stood up, walking up to his window and watches his warriors in training. Then to the women and children playing on the other side of the field. I'll rest until I find her. Cameron walked up to him, laying his hand on his shoulder. You'll find her if you have enough strength, and by having enough strength you need to eat and take a nap. He doesn't reply to Cameron. His eyes were still fixed outside. Cameron take a look at him once more. Think about it, Victor. As Cameron walked towards the door, Victor felt something trying to push through his links and he tried to ignore, but again it's like someone is calling for him. Victor, he knew that sweet voice. It was his mate. Oh, how much he misses hearing it. Making his heart melts and filled with elation. Isabel, love. Cameron stops when he saw Victor going on his knees. Isabel, as if she's running, told him through their links that the rogue will attack at dawn from 3 days onwards from the south side using the secret passage. She shouted at him through the links never to trust any other Alpha. It was her last word before their links was cut off completely. Victor howled in anger, calling out for Jem, who arrived there immediately. It's time to be ready, the rogues will attack soon. Alpha, how did you know? He smiled. My Isabel mind linked me, she's alive. He almost burst into tears. Cameron smiled at him, then fight to get her back. Jem nodded in agreement. Of course I will, fight for the both of them. In some unknown secret hidden place Isabel lie there listening to her guests. She has been awake after her 2 weeks coma. From then on she still pretended to be in it. The poor doctor thought she's not improving, but Isabel already asked her wolf to help her numb her body. Every time they came inside the room Isabel heard all of their conversation, even the doctor and Kiev's affair behind the alpha rogue's back, which disgusted her the most when they done the deed inside the room. She pity her mate only to found out later on, that the two are true mates. She tries to listen if she could find out the real identity of the alpha, but all she knows he's an alpha rogue who was also an alpha to a pack. The door slams open, Isabel lie there unmoving. I can't live here anymore, Kiev, she heard his mate. Why? Kiev asks desperately. They will attack them sooner, and I heard they'll sending me there too as their doctor in this war. Kiev, I don't think. He hushed her up. Shhh, when is this? At dawn 3 days from onwards, they will go through some secret passage there, and they wanted me. Kiev cut her off and held her tight in his arms. Do you trust me? He asked her, and she replied with a nod. Then we're escaping today. Ina held back his arm. We can't, she says. Why? Here is strictly under surveillance, believe me. I try so many times to escape, but they always found me, she sobs again. Kiev held her tight. Then I'll talk to him, that will take pardon. He would let us go as Victor is still tracking me down. It'll be a good distraction to them, but what if he put his finger on her lips? It will. He kisses her on the forehead before slamming the door closed. Isabel instantly got up, gasping for air. Her eyes towards the door. It is now or never, she told her wolves as she made her way to the door. Infidelity does not come from a lack of love. It comes from a lack of respect. Isabel sneaked up on the door after Kiev and Ina left her room. Opening her senses to try and detect any movement outside of the door, she heard nothing. Then she tries to follow the scent of the two through the passageway. She couldn't believe how big this house could get. She stops in front of a large door. She opens it up stealthily, not even breaking any sound. She heard voices raised. She follows through it and stops in front of another door. She heard arguments from inside. Peeking through the hole using her werewolf sight as it was stronger. There she saw Ina and Kiev standing in front of a man, blocking him from her view. I'm sorry, but I cannot grant you to leave, she heard him saying, and somehow she kind of knew that voice but couldn't remember where she heard it from. You see, Kiev, if only we're not bound by blood I would let you go. What do you mean? He threw his fist at him, which Kiev fell on the floor, and Ina moved to help him up. I can't let another heir live peacefully, there's only one, and that's me. Kiev shook his body in fear. Please, I don't know what you're talking about. Just let us go. I won't stand in your way. That's the problem, you won't, but if people knows I'll be damned. Tisk, your so-called Aunt Evelyn should have told you. What do you mean? Kiev, we are the fruits of our parents' infidelity. My real father is the beta and your father is the alpha. The only thing connecting us both is our prissy, stupid, good-for-nothing sister who's rotting in the cell. Kiev shook his head. No, you're lying, and he threw the papers in front of him. Kiev reaches, then read through it. He looks shocked for a moment. No, this is not real. The man hidden behind the mask laughed. Not real? Of course us is not real, as we're both illegitimate, except for the downstairs. This made Kiev launches at the masked man, who was not fazed by his attack. He laughed at him even more when he easily punches him, then threw him off the ground. He moves towards him, taking out his silver blade. He plunged it to his heart instead of Kiev. Ina was stabbed by the silver blade. Kiev screaming for his mate, who now lay limp on the ground. He turned to fight him, but easily the masked man held him by the neck, choking him up. There's more to our story than what to tell. You're not the first sibling I kill after today. He laughs evilly. Our younger brother Sean, I drown him in the tub when he's just a mere infant, blaming it on the Luna, who was biologically my mother. He lower his voices. Then she got executed. He smiled. That wasn't all. Time flew by. I target the rogue king, and when I lure his mate in, I kill them off. As for Victor, well, he's already under my spell. His mate is now mine, and sooner everything he owns will be mine. Kiev spit at him. You're a sick bastard. He smirks. I know, cause I'll make sure to be the last man standing. That's how sick I am. He tightened his grip. Before I do this, his other hand went through his heart. I just want to let you know our sister will be the last to die. With that he ripped off his heart, making Isabel scream in horror. His head swerved to the doorway. Isabel stumbled back, then she make a run for it. She runs through the hallway as she heard voices and footsteps chasing after her. Victor, she mind link. He didn't answer. She try again, and this time he answers. Without wasting time, she told him that the rogues are attacking the pack at dawn 3 days from onwards, and it will be through the secret passage. Right when she told him not to trust any alpha, she collided with someone. She felt something injected to her neck and her world fell into dark. She woke up in a cell, the masked man before her. He took a step forward and she moved backwards. Oh Isabel, took you long enough to wake up. I hate to leave you now, but when I come back I'll make sure that thing is removed and you're fully mated to me. He walk out, closing the cell door. Isabel rock in her heels, praying Victor and the pack to be safe. I wish I knew it earlier. I swear I'll kill him. She heard a voice from behind her and she turned, gasping in surprise. What? I know, believe me, if only I saw it coming. Now you know who he is. Now let's go kill all these in here and get our hands on that. Isabel was far beyond surprised by her, as she didn't take her as that kind of a person who curses a lot. Wait, what's going on? Isabel asked with confused. Darling, you've been out for 3 days, can you not with the F word? Well, what do you expect me to say when that little betray me? I don't think your mate will ever take it well too. Isabel sigh. Once realized their pack is under attack, she hopes Victor is well prepared for it. Oh my, he's attacking our pack today. How are we going to get out of here? These things are all silver, dear Ella, leave that to me. I've been planning this for so long. She wiggled her eyebrow to her. Are you ready to join Victor to murder that monster or whatsoever? Isabel nodded her head. Then let's burn this mother foo, king house down. Isabel groaned at that. No wise man ever thought that a traitor should be trusted. Marcus Tullius Cicero. When rogues attack, the 2 territories of the Crimson Pack was ready for them. Even though it was a last-minute call, since his mate was able to get the message through their mind links to him, and Isabel wasn't sure which pack the Alpha was from. Victor knew he couldn't call any Alpha for help, rather defend themselves on their own. So he visit Alexis alone in the cell. He opens it to see her sitting there in the middle meditating. You finally came, Victor. She gazed up at him, not moving. Don't think I'll just do the loving Alpha to you. So you better answer my question when I ask you to. Alexis remains quiet. She knew not push his buttons. Tell me who and which pack. She lower her gaze. Sorry Alpha, but I cannot say his names out loud or his pack's name. The moment I do, he'll knows. He look at her with confuse. I am already branded as his. She sat there and Victor for a moment pity her for not having a happy life. But I can identify some of his traitors in this pack. She smile. How do I know you're not lying? Don't trust me, Victor, but hear their name and you'll know it's the truth. So she began to name them. Victor find it hard that 10 of his pack members are traitors and 4 of them are his well-trained warriors. She also told him to watch out for their northern border. If you're telling the truth after the war, I may grant your freedom, but lie to me and I'll always come back from my grave to haunt you. He left afterward, summoning Jem, Cameron, Lawrence, and Kyle, changing their plans last minute. The traitors were not let into the plan where they won't be attacked in full force but will be divided into 2 forces. Kyle and Lawrence, their Gamma, will lead the other team with the 600 of them in numbers altogether, taking on the original plan. Jem, him and Cameron will take the last team consist of 1,000 warriors while the other 500 were left behind to guard the women and children all locked up in the safe house. Victor informed all of his team on the traitors in order to watch out and never to slip anything up. After discussing their plans he turns to Jem's brother Kyle. May I have a word with you? Victor excuses Cameron, Jem, and Lawrence from his office, leaving only the two of them alone. I know you're my sister's mate and I know you love Clara, but I ask of you to break up the bond completely with Zoe. As much as I hate it, but I can't let my sister suffer like that while you love another. Kyle didn't speak, he just listens. And Zoe, sorry Alpha, but can't do that. Victor threw his desk aside. You Kyle, he growls, you can't do that to her. Kyle got down on his knees in front of him. I'm sorry, but please give me time, he begged him. Victor slammed his fist on the wall. For the sake of Jem and our friendship I'll grant you time, but you better not parade Clara around her. The door slams open. Jem saw his brother on his knees. He ignored it immediately. Alpha, they are on the move now. He look at Kyle. Time to move. Lawrence saunter beside Kyle towards their team, his eyes never leaving the pack traitors. He gestures to others, then to Kyle, who nodded in return. When the siren was up informing the intruders they attack first. Once they went deep into the woods, Kyle whistled loudly, and with that they surrounded the traitors. Kalios, you shouldn't turn your back on your brotherhood. Lawrence sneer at one of the traitors. Too bad the Alpha is on his way there, he smile. The rogues emerged from the darkness surrounding their group. Kalios and his followers smirk. What were you saying, Delta? There were quite a lot of them, cornering Kyle's and Lawrence's team. Chaos growls at the rogues. Kill them, and they all shifted, moving in for the kill. The rogues were coming off strong, yet Kyle and Lawrence with the rest of the team remain their stance. They fought back with their might until fewer were left. Kyle move in to kill off Chaos. He jump up in the air, thrashing him with his claws, ending the traitor's life. Then he saw her fighting. His eyes couldn't believe she was fighting along them. Kyle wonders how she got here, but looking at her dresses and male clothes he then get it. She must have masked her scent and sneak her way into their team. Watching her fight makes him and his wolf proud, yet she wasn't his anymore as he has taken another she-wolf as his mate. Zoe kills off the rogues, then she slump against a tree, sweat dripping from her forehead while she took a break. She looks up, finding him watching her. He never took off his gaze. He then gave her a smile. Yet she never returns his smile, not when a rogue lying on the ground crept on her from the back and plunged a knife at her. Kyle screams, moving towards her in speed. She fell on her knees. The rogue raised his claws to finish her when Lawrence got on time, killing the rogue, the last of them. Kyle crouch on the ground, taking her body into his arms. Zoe, look at me, he cries. Please Zoe, don't die on me. She cough up blood, gazing up into his eyes, her lips turning into a smile. The brightest smile he ever saw. Zoe, he cries, holding her close. He mind link for a doctor. Zoe, he rock her back and forth while crying. He took her face in his hands. Zoe, don't you dare die on me, he sobbed. There were so many things he wanted to tell her. So many regrets that he needs to let her know, yet here she was dying in his arm. Victor warned him not to hurt her, but he just kill her today. Zoe, he sobbed, do you remember the first time we met? She smiled as if recalling those memories in her head. Her eyes flutter a little. She shook her head weakly, then her eyelids slowly closing, her chest slowly rising. She was going to die in his arms. Zoe, Kyle scream as his hold on her tighten. His tears never stops from falling. The worst feeling in the world is knowing you've been used and lied to by someone you trusted. Victor moved to their north border where the Alpha Rogue and his pack are waiting for signal from their 1,000 rogues that he sent to destroy them, not knowing they have been informed of their attack and plans they made. The Alpha Rogue in mask stood with his head raised high, proud of what his rogues and pack members were doing. Hearing the screams from afar he howl in joy, and when it all dies down he smile wickedly to himself. No more was heard from afar except a painful howling of a wolf in agony. The cries of loss and betrayal. The Alpha King thought Victor must have fallen. He signaled for his men to move forward, there were 500 of them left as he has deployed most of his men before. They moved to enter the border only to be stopped by 50 meter away from the borders as figures starts to come out from the woods. Cameron and Jem chuckles at one another. What's the rush, rogue? Sneer Jem. You think you can scare me, pup? He laugh at Jem. Then I Cameron, none of you will take me down. I'm sure your pathetic alpha has enjoyed my gifts. Hearing him in agony, I must say Chaos and his followers put on a good show. He laugh at them. Either you surrender or I'll show no mercy. Seeing that Jem and Cameron don't move, he smirks. Very well, but before I kill you I want you to remember this face in your time of death. As this face and my name will reign forever. He took off his mask. Cameron and Jem became still, they were too shocked to move. They just couldn't believe he would do this to them. Victor, who have been hiding, heard the alpha rogue saying to remember his face as his name will reign forever. He took a peek, not exposing him to the man behind the mask, waiting for him to be exposed first. The alpha rogue finally took it off completely and his heart felt zillions of knives stabbing it. His wolf resurfacing from the betrayal he felt, but he tries to control him. He wouldn't do this to him, would he? His wolf whimpers. How could he do this for so many years? Why would he stab him like that? The alpha rogue was none other than his best friend Alan, the alpha of the Crescent Pack. Victor held his fist tight, hearing him laugh at Cameron and Jem for having a useless expression. He couldn't believe that he befriended a traitor, a monster who is ready to take over his pack. He heard him boasted, tisk tisk, poor Victor, if only he knew that saving me was all a plan out. He thinks I was weak, but those junks that attacked me back in school was nothing but my minions at the time. He parade in front of his warrior, chuckling at how he has hid his identity so well. If only he knew I was seeking my revenge, since his bastard of a father kills mine, and when he took the territory from the council and the woman I want, oh, the more I sharpen my knife. Cameron stood with disbelief. Alpha Lydon never kills your father, Alpha Lucius. Jem retorts, ah, but he kills the beta who was my real father. Victor wouldn't believe that he befriend a son of a man who tries to rape his mother. Yes, their rivals maybe start from their ancestors. Indeed, another reason adding up to their years of feud was that the beta tries to rape the Crimson Luna at a party, who was also Victor's mother. Your father tried to rape our Luna, he snarled at Cameron, then he cracks up laughing. Isn't it funny, the history repeats itself, except I won't rape your Luna, as I already made my intentions clear to Victor in the first treaty. Victor curses at himself how he missed and forgot that piece of the puzzle. Everything makes sense now. How it was impossible to track the rogue alpha and him not looking for his mate, as he was the one kidnapping her. No wonder why his best tracker couldn't find her. He was indeed lying to him all along. Don't worry, I'll take good care of her. I wish I could tell this to Victor, that the more he took things before my eyes, the more I vouch for his death and fight for them to be mine. In case you're confused about me being the rogue, oh well, I kill him by using his mate. He laughed humorously. Victor, hearing enough of it, lean against the tree. His warrior's back was covering him from Alan. He claps his hands slowly and his warriors move aside as he walks in the middle, revealing himself. Alan's eyes gone wide. He didn't expect him to be alive. That was quite entertaining. Alan. Victor pretends to laugh, and instead of regretting the fact of his best friend's betrayal, he numbs all his emotions, turning off his human side and look at him with cold glare. He can't look weak in front of his pack and the enemies. You thought you can get rid of me that easily? Sorry, but I wasn't named Victor for nothing by my parents. So don't expect for me to just watch you while you took everything that belongs to me. Things that I don't steal, as they were made for me. Unlike you, everything you have are not rightfully yours. He growled at Victor, scowling at his warriors and rogues band to attack. Victor didn't give him any chance, as one look at Jem, Cameron, and his warriors they fully understand. It was time to attack. No emotion, no more holding back. Friends or not, today is that day to live or die. Friend or foe, I won't hesitate to kill you. Just not quickly but slowly, so that you could feel every pain you have inflicted on me. Two alpha whose pack were sworn enemy way before they were born. Those two alphas then became best of friends. Thought to made new era into their pack, one alpha betray another and once again their sworn enemy. Running at each other in full speed as their pack warriors fall behind them in their wolf forms, nothing standing in their way as they release their wrath onto each other. When they reach one another, their fist going at each other, hitting one another with full force. Victor feinted his right hand and landed a blow on Alan's ribs, sending him back. Alan held his ground, growling at Victor, then leap up again for him, hooking his jaw caught in the air. Victor astutely pulled his head back, colliding with Alan's nose. Fist with fist they fought, not even shifting in their wolf's form. Alan kept throwing punches at Victor, who tries to avoid. Seeing an opportunity, he threw right hook, then sway back and came back with a swift straight to Alan's body, catching him off balance so that he could finish him with an uppercut. Victor thought of something his father taught him when he was young. Apart from fighting in his human form with just fist, he was taught in other fighting styles. Instead of doing an uppercut, he launched a double palm heel strike, penetrating through Alan's body, reaching and made contact with his bladder and underside of his cheekbones. Alan lay on the ground, his hands gripping the leaves on the ground. He laughed shortly at Victor before cracking his bones. He was shifting into his wolf. Having a new strength and howling with thunder, Alan's wolf sneered at Victor, who was breathing hard and still in his human form. There were bruises and blood from their fighting before, yet he wasn't fazed by Alan's wolf. Snarling at him, Alan jumps at him, his paws landing behind Victor, who dodged him and turned around with quick speed and deflected his attack. Alan caught his leg with his paws, about to rip him to shred when Victor shifted into his wolf form and fought him back. Their brutal fighting continues, both shifting from time to time in their wolf and human forms, with neither of them wanting to lose any time sooner. Isabel, who has escaped the cell at Alan's pack with Carla by burning it into the ground and kills the cell guard, emerged from the woods full in speed ahead. Her eyes wandering around the scene in front of her, where all she could see was blood. Her eyes then remained on two big wolves fighting. She knew one was Victor and the other one was none other than his traitorous friend, correct ex-friend. She told her wolf to give her a little bit of her strength and make sure to protect their pup at all cost. As they were not to fight with anyone in their wolf form, it will be dangerous if they shifts, considering their condition. Skeptically she kept her eyes on the two big wolves with no one knowing her presence. Then she caught sight of Zane, known as Beta Gori, crawling from behind with a silver blade in his hand, looking for a way to attack Victor from behind, who again shifted in his human form. Isabel growled at their unfairness in taking on her mate. She pushes her legs to move her wolf, protecting their pup while lending half of their strength for Isabel to fight. Their eyes wander for something to counterparts Zane's attack, as they couldn't just lure straight in there without a weapon, considering he was holding a dangerous one. She saw a glistening metal on the attached to a rail. She was surprised to see this, but given that it's all covered in grass, must have been closed a long time ago. Using her werewolf strength she pulled it off, thanking the moon goddess when there's a sharpened end to it. Zane released a growl as if they will be in victory, jumping from back of the tree to stab Victor in the back, but it was too late. Isabel landed right in front of him, taking him by surprise as she uses the metal to hold his silver blade that was to slash Victor's back up in the air. She pushes it off, then kicking him to his groin, then to his chest, sending him off to a tree. Victor, feeling a huge relief, back a little bit to stood by his mate while holding his fighting stance. He held on to her hand as they stood side by side, whispering to her, "Thank you for being alive." She smiled through their links. "Let's finish this, mate." Seeing their opponents retaliating, they both leaped before them. She fought off Zane real good, going on for an hour. That's when someone snarled in her direction, "Let him go or I'll kill him." "I, Victor Salazar, will." Victor, losing his step, fell back, giving Alan, who has been shifted back into his human form, an advantage to cut through his arms and legs using the silver blade. Then he moved forward, grabbed him and bent him on his knees. Isabel was about to kill Zane when Alan growled at them, "Let him go or I'll kill him." She swerved around, looking at her mate, her hands now around Zane's neck, choking him to death. "Let him go, and that goes for the rest of you. If not, your alpha here will die." He spit out his blood, then wiped it with the back of his hand. The Crimson, seeing their leader kneeling on the ground with a silver blade around his throat, stops. Isabel's grip loosened and Zane's body dropped on the floor helplessly. He scooted away from her, then to Alan's side. "Good girl, now for the rest of you let go no," shouted Victor. "Don't you dare listen." Alan tightened his hold, the knife draw blood from his skin. "Please no," cries Isabel while holding her stomach. "Please don't, we'll do it." "No," Victor growl. Yet again Alan punches him, which result in him coughing out blood. "Please no," she begs. "Will let go." The pack members look at her as if she's insane. She caught on camera and then look at Jem, who instantly understood her choice. "Everyone let go and listen to what she says." He mind link, but be aware to still hold up your guards without giving out any suspicious that they were communicating. Isabel pleads with them again, and this time they let go of their weapons and the Crescent Wolves, including some surviving rogues. She prays to the Moon Goddess for strength, and this better be work. "Good, now before I kill off your alpha I want you to do one thing for me." Alan keeps on smirking. "Reject him." Everyone gasp with shocked. "You still think I'll let you mate me with that mark on your neck and thing in your stomach after my victory today? They are Victor's, not mine. So reject him while I'm being nice," he demanded. Isabel took a step forward, but he stops her. "Stay there," she begs again for the Moon Goddess to help her. "Don't think of mind linking him. Now do it." She look at Victor half kneel on the ground and almost bath in blood. The strong Victor earlier no longer kneel, but the most vulnerable one, who was feeling ashamed by now that he couldn't even protect his mate. She beg again for him to look up at her, and when he did she pleads with him through her eyes. Her hands moving to her stomach, tears dropping from her eyes. Then she look around to their pack and to him again. Victor knew what she meant, that she needed him to be there for her, their pup and their pack. She's pleading for him to hold on a little bit, the Victor that people fears, that everyone respected and loves. He knew if he dies these people's lives won't ever be the same again, and he won't get to make his Isabel smile or his pup be happy. He can't die that easily. He won't be resting in peace not knowing that his people aren't safe. Isabel starts to sob. "By Isabel," she said between her sobs, "Maynard reject you." Alpha Victor Salazar of Crimson Pack. There was no pain, as Victor still needs to complete the rejection. Alan pushed the knife deeper to his shoulder, making him groan in pain. Accept her rejection. When he felt Alan's guard loosen a little, he praised the Moon Goddess to give him and his wolf one final strength, and when he felt it he spoke. "I, Victor Salazar." He paused, smirking a little. "Rejected your rejection, Isabel Hayes." And he took Alan by surprise when he held on to his arm, tightened his hold on it, and when he saw the other one coming to his way from the back, he deject his move and broke it before flipping him on the ground before him. Everyone else starts to fight again against their opponents. Isabel was too quick to get to Zane before he could kill Victor. The blade that was in Alan's hand flew up in the air, and once Victor caught it within his hands, he scared Alan by stabbing his legs, then his arms and stomach in quick movement. When he felt his strength weaken and Alan almost in the brink of death, he stops. "What's the matter, friend?" Alan laughed while coughing up blood. "Couldn't finish doing it right, best friend?" Victor laughed a little. "It's a shame I never thought you'll consider me as your friend, because to me you were never a friend. With our thoughts and with our hidden desire in upheaval, I don't think I was ever a friend to you, but rather your sworn enemy. And I'm not letting you live another day, foe. You were a good foe to me in the beginning." Victor raises his hand with a silver blade in it to finish off Alan, but a hand stops him. Isabel took it from him even though he refused to. Isabel took him out quickly. It was so easy, as Victor was tired with that. She looks at Alan with coldness in her eyes. "For my mate, my pup, our pack, and for all those you have killed." With that being said, she swiftly kills off Alan. "I'm not perfect, as there are mistakes and secrets in my life that makes me not perfect." Everyone was at the cemetery today paying respect to all the fallen warriors who lost their lives in the battle except for the Alpha. Therefore, Isabel has paid her respect on behalf of Victor, who was still in bed arrest by her. 3 days after the attack, the pack appreciatively accepted her as their Luna. They were more than proud to ordinate her and welcomed her officially as their leader alongside their Alpha. Isabel, after paying her respect, went back to the pack house while others just stay behind for little more time with their loved ones. Victor woke up and found his mate beside him on the bed. Groaning, he got up, resting his head against the headboard. He watches her sleeps, her stomach groan a little. He smile, thanking the moon goddess for letting him to live another many years to come beside his mate. She shuffles around, then slowly her eyelids open. He saw those beautiful eyes he always get lost into. She smile, then crawl on top of him. Victor was feeling better already, thanks to his werewolf side. Her stomach stuck between them. He smiled, touching it, then he lifted his eyes up to hers. He pulled her closer, kissing her on the lips. How he missed it in those lonely nights when she was kidnapped. Pulling away, he embraced her, his hands smoothing her back. She scoot a little bit down, laying on top of him, her head on his chest. "Why did you do it?" Isabel knew what Victor meant. He wanted to know why she killed Alan. "He was your friend and not mine." She paused, then went on to explain. "I know you were lying to him. You only wanted him to get her, as you knew deep down inside it was you who was never a friend to him, but to you he was." A tear slips from his eyes. "I hate that now you have to carry the burden, another nightmare adding to yours. I'm sorry for being weak." She nuzzled her head into his chest. "You're not weak. You were just being human, just like me sometimes." He kisses her forehead. "We're just Isabel and Victor, not perfect but made by the moon goddess for each other." She looks at him in the eyes. "Human for each other, love and hate one another, reject each other. In the end we made this little guy in here with one another." She rubbed her stomach and Victor laughed a little. "It was a way to create him." He smiled cheekily at her. "Wanna repeat that way?" She sassily winking at him. He closed their distance, murmuring against her lips, "Never stop writing there, my dear Isabel." He then kisses her on the lips, flipping her on her back, making her giggle. At the cemetery, Zoe was staring back at a grave headstone of her parents. She survived the attack, but physically she's destroyed. Kyle has been trying to care for her, but she refused to let him. She still thought Kyle is going out with Clara, even though he made it clear to her that they are not anymore. It's over between him and Clara. Zoe finds it hard to trust anyone, especially him, and even though she saw them together just as friends, she sometimes wishes she had never survived the attack, as seeing them still hurts her. Memories of her with him was hard to erase from her mind. She even wished she was like other girls who can move on easily. Unfortunately, she was one of those types who wouldn't. The ones that were fallen in deep and fall out hard of love with their mate. "They'll be so proud of you if they were here." Cameron crouched down, leveling with her wheelchair. "You're going to be okay, Zoe, you will." He squeezed her hand, then gave her a hug before moving away with Carla on his side. She looked around, there was no sign of Cora, so she moves her wheelchair forward. A figure in front of her made her stops. She looks up, finding Kyle staring at her. She tries to move away, but he blocked it. "You're not gonna be better if you stay in that chair." Kyle swooped her off the wheelchair. She struggled to break free from his hold, but he still held her close. "You can't do anything to me from now on. Come on, you need to change in order to do your daily exercises." He took her to the pack house. The front doors opens. They saw Isabel and Victor came down with their hands entwined together, looking at them. "It's not what you think," Zoe groaned. Isabel was about to retort when they heard moans getting louder. They all turned to the living room. There on the couch is She-Wolf, whose bottom was covered with a blanket, and she is riding a male wolf on the couch. Her back was on them, head thrown a little bit back, as both were lost in their intercourse that they couldn't even hear, scented, or hear the slamming of the door by Kyle or the footsteps of Isabel and Victor when they came from upstairs. Zoe's jaw was dropped in awe. Isabel tries to blink. The boys were too shocked to move. The female was screaming Jem's name in ecstasy, and when he pushes her backwards to take control, he curses and hurriedly tries to cover her body. Caught in the act, Jem quickly moves in front of the female. Both Victor and Kyle put their hands on the girl's eyes. Isabel grip on Victor's arms, holding him back. Zoe pushes Kyle's hands away, shouting at the young couple. "Cora, since when did you FK Jem?" Epilogue. The end. Another beginning after 4 months of the brutal attack and the act of Jem and Cora caught in the living room. Victor wanted them to be separated, but since he was her mate and he was his beta, he understood. He trusted Jem more than anyone else with his sisters, so he let them be together despite the awkwardness with Zoe and Kyle, who had now moved out to their own house. They have also decided on what to do with the Crescent Pack since they no longer have an alpha. As much as Victor wanted to punish them, but he knew that it wasn't the people's fault. So Victor and Isabel has taken in consideration the people. They didn't want to force them to move into their pack either. Therefore, they decided to give Crescent Pack to run by Carla with Cameron to help her. Given that she's the rightful heir to the pack, besides Carla has no bad intentions against them. Everything is now in peace, and tonight they will be attending an invitation from one of the largest pack, which was also fourth on the list in the werewolves world. They cordially invited them to their alpha's engagement party. The young alpha has just returned from his training and now he's ready to settle down with his mate, who was also his high school sweetheart. All pack's alphas and their higher level were invited to attend. Isabel wore a red dress while he wore a black tuxedo. Matching up with her dress was his red cuff links. He was beyond happy and grateful to the moon goddess for pairing them up. Also, he couldn't wait for the month to be over and welcome their pup in this world. They made it on time, and as soon as they were there in the host mansion, they got separated immediately as other alphas took him, while the Lunas wanted to chat with his beautiful mate. Isabel's eyes were searching for her mate when she saw a young couple coming from the balcony side. They look adorable. OL and Eric are here, she heard one of the Luna whispers. Then Cora came running around her like a child, pulling her away from the Lunas as they gossip on about the couple. Isabel tries to look away from Cora, yet she forces her to look in her away. Come on, stop eye-raping the couple, she pushes on her shoulder. Not suit yourself, she teases her. Anyways, that's Eric and Elle, their story is kind of complicated. Rumor has it that they were both reincarnated along with Alpha Aaron and his slut of a mate. Poor Isabel was confused. See, told you it's kind of complicated, so don't dwell on it unless you ask the moon goddess herself. Cora took a sip of her champagne. She was to go away when Isabel notices love bites on her neck. What the, I know, but what can I do when I couldn't keep Jem's hands away? She laughs, leaving her there speechless. You look ravishing, honey, Victor growled in her ear as he took her hand and they dance on the dance floor, holding her close to him, except for her belly in between them. He got down on his right knee, kissing her stomach. I love you, little guy, and he stood back up, pecking her on the lips. I love you more, my mate. My Isabel, I love you too. She wiped off her tear of joy as they sway to Billie Eilish song When the Party Is Over. It was a perfect moment to end their harsh chapter with another beginning to live. Her eyes caught a beautiful female with her long black hair sitting alone at a corner as if she's hiding from the crowd. It was absurd, but the way she sat tells another story. The most treacherous and heartbroken one. Then all of a sudden the female she-wolf made eye contact with Isabel, then to the couple of the evening behind, not too far from them. The she-wolf watches him dances with his wife-to-be, all basket in love. That's my mate. Her eyes and head now lifted up, looking to the audience, she mumbles, and this is my story. Words of Billie Eilish songs playing in the background. Quite when I'm coming home and I'm on my own, I could lie, say I like it like that, I could lie, say I like it like that, like it like that. The chorus keeps on playing, like snow falling on cedar while everything else faded. She's seated there all alone with eyes on her mate as one drop of tear fell from them onto her lap.